Chapter 87. As long as there was heavenly dew, treasures, weapons, armors, and other things that could withstand the corrosion of time could be upgraded endlessly. That was what he lacked right now. Entering the sun-moon altar, there was indeed a huge ball of blood and a soul floating in the air. This ball of blood was different from before. It gave off a thick, evil energy. Black smoke billowed like an evil fire burning. It constantly transformed into hideous human faces. Listening closely, there were countless screams. How many people did this guy kill to create such a thick grievance in the soul? Guqinsha was shocked, but it wasn't strange. As a barbarian shadow priest, if his hands weren't stained with human blood, he wouldn't have been able to climb to this position. And according to the evil god's oracle, only by killing many humans as a sacrifice would his cultivation speed increase. He lit up the venomous grass as a sacrifice. Instantly, heavenly dew fell like rain. There were a total of 3,000 drops. What a bountiful harvest! Guqinsha stored the heavenly dew into the gourd before exiting the altar. He saw Ming strip the shadow priest's items. Within the robe was a leather pouch filled with fresh blood. It was abnormally heavy, but the blood didn't solidify. It was like molten golden liquid that flowed. Within the blood, there were many tadpole-like runes that flickered and flickered, emitting a blazing aura. Congratulations, Master. This is a leather pouch of dragon transformation liquid. This is what I said before, refined from the blood of countless primordial mutants, along with spirit liquid and divine water obtained from sacrifices. It is only in the hands of the top barbarian figures. I once received some as a reward, but I used it all. This person must have wanted to upgrade his bone staff, but felt that it wasn't enough. Coincidentally, he received an order to assassinate Master, so he came. After killing Master, he sacrificed it to the evil god and used the dragon transformation liquid to upgrade the bone staff. That would be perfect. Master is a prince and has the bloodline of the heavenly talisman emperor. He is very important to the evil god. If he can be killed and sacrificed, the evil god's reward will be unimaginable. Ming said, Master must be careful in the future. This dragon transformation liquid is very strong and domineering. Guqinsha savored it. How do I use it? Did he drip it on it too? That's right. Even though this dragon transformation liquid isn't enough to further evolve the great dragon armor, it can still significantly increase its defense and power. If you encounter such an expert again, you'll be able to react faster and you won't be captured so easily. Is that so? Guqinsha quickly took out the dragon transformation fluid and smeared it on the great dragon armor. The great dragon armor wriggled as it greedily absorbed the dragonification elixir. The scales shrank, and Guqinsha could feel that the armor was much more compact and sturdy than before. This dragon transformation liquid is truly overbearing. Compared to heavenly dew, it lacks some of its mellow properties. It can only be used to improve one's cultivation base, not to treat and detoxify. Additionally, if the quality of a magic treasure is not strong enough, not only will it not improve, it will also be destroyed. Guqinsha thought to himself, if it was an ordinary armor, a drop of heavenly dew would cause the armor to evolve. However, a drop of the dragon transformation liquid would cause it to be unable to withstand the tyrannical power contained within, and it would be directly burned to ashes. Fortunately, the great dragon armor was a treasure to begin with, and it had been fortified with nearly 1,000 drops of heavenly dew. Master, the great dragon armor can withstand the dragonification elixir, but the horn WRM armor isn't. Of course, if you want to smear the dragonification elixir on the horn WRM armor, you have to dilute it with spirit liquid first. This pouch of dragonification elixir can be diluted into a pool before soaking the treasure in it. This way, the treasure will be able to slowly absorb the dragonification elixir and won't be completely destroyed, Ming said. It's very dangerous to use the dragonification elixir. Since that's the case, I'll use it all to nourish the great dragon armor. Guqinsha poured the entire pouch of dragonification elixir onto the great dragon armor. He didn't even dare to touch it with his fingers. The dragonification elixir was even hotter than lava. The great dragon armor sizzled, but it didn't burn. It just looked like it was having a hard time digesting so much dragonification elixir. Master, if we had the heavenly dew to neutralize the dragonification elixir, the great dragon armor wouldn't be able to withstand such tyrannical power, Yiming hurriedly said. I knew it. Gu Chunsha took out a bottle gourd and poured out 100 drops of heavenly dew, mixing them with the dragonification elixir. In an instant, the great dragon armor burst into golden flames that grew larger and larger. Projections of various primordial fierce beasts appeared, roaring and roaring. So, this is the bloodline of the primordial fierce beasts. Gu Chunsha nodded inwardly as he watched the changes unfold. With the heavenly dew neutralizing it, the great dragon armor absorbed the dragonification elixir and the primordial fierce beast's bloodlines and began to evolve. The golden flames gradually retracted and returned to the armor. In the end, the dragonification elixir became neither black nor white, gray and unremarkable. The scales also shrunk and became very fine. Gu Chunsha immediately used his blood to inscribe runes on the armor. He was using the sun and moon refining art. At this critical moment, he would use his blood essence to refine the dragonification elixir again. The great dragon armor would become more connected to him, and he would be able to use it as he pleased in the future. In truth, if he did this many times, he could make the dragonification elixir a part of him, and no one would be able to take it away. However, he was still in the process of establishing his Tao foundation, so he couldn't use too much blood essence. In the end, the dragonification elixir turned into a thin belt that was gray and indistinguishable from black and white. This is the color of primal chaos, Yiming said. After absorbing the dragonification elixir and the heavenly dew, the dragonification elixir's potential has risen once more. Many primordial fierce beast bloodlines have been absorbed, and after a period of digesting and assimilating them, it has gained the aura of a king. Master's refining art can practically recreate anything, even surpassing the refining art of the Mahasuppression scripture. When the time comes, this dragonification elixir will truly become the dragonification elixir. But it's just a worldly possession. Gu Chunsha thought about it carefully. I thought the dragonification elixir would be enough to hold off the Shadow Priest, but I didn't expect it to be completely powerless. It seems the gap in cultivation can't be bridged. Every transformation in the Tao realm is a transformation of one's mortal body. Yiming searched the Shadow Priest's leather robe again and took out a gourd. Needless to say, there were medicinal pills inside. We poured them out. They were actually crystals the size of soybeans. This is a spirit stone, also known as a spirit crystal. It's made from spirit liquid that has been condensed 1,000 times over and crystallized into gemstones. Yiming took out one. If I melt this spirit crystal, I'll obtain at least a large jar of spirit liquid. This Shadow Priest is actually richer than me? It's so miraculous. Gu Chunsha took it as if it were a treasure. It was extremely heavy. Just the gourd alone weighed several thousand kilograms, and there were about 15 crystals inside. He hadn't expected such a small crystal to be able to produce a large jar of spirit liquid. If that was the case, the horned dragon armor of his subordinates could be soaked in the spiritual liquid, which would greatly increase their strength and defensive capabilities. Not to mention that, although the benefits of the spiritual liquid were not as good as the heavenly dew, it was still a rare treasure. Its practicality far exceeded that of many elixirs. This Shadow Priest also has a copy of the Demon Tome of Chaos, but it's only the first 3 volumes. Perhaps they'll be of help to Master's cultivation. He took out a leather scroll. Here's a command medallion. On the command medallion, there was a giant ape sitting on a throne, looking up to the heavens and earth. Its bloody mouth and fangs were the source of all evil. Below the command medallion, there was a small word, shadow, in barbaric language. This is his token to enter the divine temple. It represents his status, and it's quite high. In the future, if Master wants to sneak into the divine temple, it'll be of great use. All you have to do is wrap yourself up and show the token. Shadow priests are hidden in the darkness, and no one can see their faces. Guqinsha took the command medallion and placed it in the altar space. He then flipped open the demon tome of chaos. All kinds of martial arts came into view. The moves were powerful and imposing, but also cruel. The chi was refined in a unique way, and the meridians were mysterious. It really is a demonic tome. The martial arts in it are truly unique. Guqinsha had cultivated the sun of heaven's investiture of gods before, so he was able to see through other martial arts much more clearly than the average person. He memorized and pondered a little in his mind, and the martial arts in this ancient manual began to brew, calculate, and comprehend by analogy. He verified it with the giant miracle power, and thus gained even more martial arts experience. Using the Son of Heaven's God bestowment art as the foundation, he had studied the art of the Great Spirit God, the scripture of hell suppression, and the demon tome of chaos. All of them were peerless martial arts. The more he studied, the more he felt his horizons widened. Seeing that Guqinsha was engrossed in it, Yiming said, "Master, let's go back. I'm afraid the Shadow Priest will attack us again. We might be able to stop him, but our subordinates might not be able to. Come on, let's go back." Guqinsha put away the demon tome and unfurled the great dragon armor. Swish! In just a breath's time, the great dragon armor covered him from head to toe. He floated 3 feet above the ground like a ghost. He actually didn't need wings at all. As expected, after absorbing a bag of dragon transformation liquid and 100 drops of sky dew, the great dragon armor's strength doubled. If he faced a Tao Realm 6 transformation priest again, he wouldn't be in such a bad state. Of course, it was impossible for him to defeat him. He placed the Shadow Priest's corpse into the altar space. This would be a huge contribution to the Imperial Dynasty. Apart from that, he could also give it to the medicine department of the Celestial Craft Institute as a research subject. With such a high cultivation corpse, they would be able to gain many things that would benefit the people. When he returned to the living area, it was really quiet and nothing happened. Everyone had woken up and were in high spirits. They lit up the fire and drank the battle technique wine before training their blades and fists. 3 incenses really did pick many herbs from the forest. There were many precious herbs in the barbarian forest, but it was difficult for ordinary people to enter. For example, a 1,000-year-old red Ganoderma was worth thousands of dollars outside. It was not a small amount. Although they were Liu Baiyue's trusted subordinates and enjoyed the training, they still had to save up some money for other things. Seeing Guqinsha and Yiming return, the 3 incenses exchanged glances with one another. They didn't say anything and just silently packed up the herbs. "How is it? Did you face any attacks?" Guqinsha asked. "Prince, we are still safe." Liu held his sword and patrolled the area. He was getting stronger and stronger, and the sword in his hand was constantly swallowing spiritual energy to merge with his flesh and blood. Even when he slept, the sword didn't leave his hand. Chapter 88. In the span of 20 breaths, all the warriors were ready, and they had the temperament of an elite soldier. They had consumed the tiger wolf pellet, and not only did they have immense strength, they also had the courage of tigers and wolves. In the past, they had taken the blood-strengthening pellet every day, which was a treatment only the descendants of the noble families could enjoy. Furthermore, they had received guidance from experts like Yiming, and their cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds. "Your Highness, should we destroy the spirit gathering formation here?" Zhao Yang asked. "If we don't destroy it, I'm afraid it will reveal our whereabouts." "Good thinking, then let's destroy it." Guqinsha nodded. Everyone immediately destroyed the mounds and pulled out the wooden stakes. Immediately, the magnetic field became chaotic and the spiritual chi disappeared. So, everyone began to march according to the route in the forest. Along the way, they did not stop. There were no days or nights, and after marching for half a month, they finally arrived at the location indicated on the map. This was half a month earlier than the original plan. "We're finally here." Guqinsha saw that they were surrounded by huge mountains that pierced the clouds. There was no sign of human habitation, and it was truly a place far away from the mortal world. However, This was not a barren land. The mountains were interconnected like a long snake, and like the back of a tortoise, there were crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Tens of thousands of beasts had returned to their nests. Baleful chi and spiritual chi converged, and the earth veins changed. Master, this place is not far from the chaotic demonic ape temple. The earth chi here is thick, and there are 108 mountains. Legend has it that the chaotic demonic ape moved the mountains here to form a lair. Ming said, if we continue forward, there will be many demonic apes living in the mountains, and they will easily discover us. I've also analyzed it. Gu Qinsha looked around at the majestic mountains, layer upon layer, and gave off an oppressive aura, as if an ancient devil was looking at him. That's why we chose this place as the rendezvous point and did not go deeper. Each of these mountains is several hundred li wide. What kind of godly strength would it take to move them here? This is indeed an unimaginable power, but compared to the heavenly talisman emperor, it's still a far cry. Yiming continued. The heavenly talisman great emperor opened the canal, built the great wall, shaved off 1,000 mountains, filled the sea of sin, and built cities everywhere. His goal was to change the billions of mountains and rivers in the world. All the energy veins of the land were gathered towards the great Yonko. When his plan is completed, the billions of people will gradually benefit greatly. At that time, the country will be strong and powerful, and no dynasty can compare to it. This is Imperial Father's plan. Gu Qinsha suddenly woke up. Only then did he remember the politics of the court for so many years. Canals ran through the east, west, north, and south, and the Great Wall stretched for hundreds of thousands of miles. Cities were built everywhere, and the vast land seemed to really be carrying out a huge plan, setting up a huge formation. In the past, he didn't know anything about formations, magnetic fields, or spirit energy fluctuations. But now that he was comprehending them, he realized that the heavenly talisman emperor truly wanted to transform the entire world into a grand formation. This was something that no one had been able to do since ancient times. But this was a good thing, as it was a foundation that would last for generations to come. Following the construction of the court, the provinces, prefectures, and counties were getting better and better. The weather was good, the crops were plentiful, and the livestock were flourishing. Moreover, the population had increased tremendously in the past decade, and there were very few diseases and plagues. In the past, there would be plagues every few years, and wherever they went, cities would be wiped out. Everywhere, people would turn pale at the mention of plagues. But in the 14 years of the Heavenly Talisman dynasty, there wasn't a single plague. In these years, there seemed to be a large number of talents surging out from the people. After thinking about it carefully, Gu Qinsha's heart opened up again. Looking at the billions of people in the world, he seemed to have some understanding of the Heavenly Talisman Emperor's way of thinking and actions. Twisting the heaven and earth, changing the heaven and earth, and all living beings were of one heart. He cultivated the son of heaven's god bestowment art, which was originally to control the Tao of the Son of Heaven, to protect and nourish the people. Now that he was enlightened by Ming, he started to think about the way of ruling a country, and he had a unique understanding of cultivation. The actions of the Heavenly Talisman Emperor were the true masters of the Tao of the Son of Heaven. Have Long Yuyun and the Cold Jade Do arrived? Gu Qinsha woke up from his thoughts and looked around. Could it be that our speed is too fast? That shouldn't be the case. Their overall strength is much stronger than mine, and all their subordinates are martial masters. There are even Tao realm experts. Although they don't have the horned dragon armor, I don't believe that they can't take out the same treasures after so many years. In his team, the only trump card was Ming. Other than that, they were still very weak, and there wasn't even a single Tao realm expert. Prince, we can't advance rashly now. Otherwise, the devil monkeys will cause us to suffer heavy losses. 3 incenses heard the monkeys' cries from afar and knew that it was impossible to advance any further. Forget it, you guys should just wait here. Gu Qinsha thought for a while. Ming, you stay here and guard. I will go into the forest and look around the temple to see if there is a chance to enter. Prince, it's too dangerous for you to go alone. Lu Yu and the other four hurriedly said. I have a way to protect myself. If we go together, we will definitely be trapped. Gu Qinsha waved his hand. There's no time to lose. We haven't made any contributions for half a month, and the other princes are progressing fast. If we delay any longer, the situation will only get worse. Yes. The five of them didn't say anything else and obeyed the order. Three incenses didn't have any suggestions. They guessed that Gu Qinsha definitely had a trump card. Immediately, Gu Qinsha's body flickered and he went deeper into the mountain. When there was no one else in the mountain, he quickly covered himself with the great dragon armor and took out the leather robe that he had used to kill the shadow priest. He put on the armor and hung the token on his waist. Then, he started walking quickly. He walked forward for a few hundred miles and felt the rustling of the forest around him, as if there were many demons leaping and watching him. He looked carefully and found that there were indeed groups of apes building their nests on the trees that were as tall as 1,000 feet and patrolling around. These apes were completely different from ordinary monkeys. Their bodies were dark red, and they had horns on their heads. They looked ferocious and ferocious. They leaped from tree to tree and moved as if they were flying. Their claws had sharp hooks. Sometimes he could even see them hiding in the leaves and leaping up to catch birds that were gliding over the treetops. After tearing them apart, they feasted on them. There were even some apes that had hunted tigers, leopards, and large snakes from God knows where. They caught them on the trees and ate them with relish. Other than that, they also ate centipedes, scorpions, and all kinds of poisonous creatures. These apes were like demons from hell. Some of them even grew wings and could glide in the sky for a short period of time. They had evolved into winged demonic apes. Any large creatures that entered this area would be divided and eaten by the demonic apes that covered the mountains and plains. Even experts would be discovered. But when Gu Qinsha revealed the token, the demonic apes all avoided it. Some of the apes on the trees even knelt down, knowing that it was a priest of the temple and couldn't be blasphemed. There was an aura on the token. It was the aura of the chaotic demonic ape, the ancestor of the demonic apes. If I hadn't killed the shadow priest and obtained his token, it would have been troublesome for me to enter this area. These demonic apes seemed to have powerful characters. As he walked, he sensed that there were houses built by apes on the treetops that were thousands of years old. Although they were simple and crude, they exuded the domineering aura of a king. Inside the houses, there was the indistinct shadow of a giant ape. It breathed in and out, and its aura surged. It was definitely the overlord of the demonic apes. Gu Qinsha knew that he wasn't their match at all. He didn't cause trouble and walked silently. After walking for a day and a night, he passed through several mountains. Suddenly, the view before him widened, and a large plain appeared in the embrace of the mountains. This plain was hundreds of li wide and looked extremely vast from afar. The mountains pressed down on the earth veins, and a magnetic field pierced through the void. One could even see with the naked eye that the spiritual energy clouds were gathered in the huge temple at the center of the plain. This was a true grand spell formation. The most eye-catching thing about the temple was the statue of a gigantic demonic ape sitting on a throne. Thousands of beasts gathered beneath its feet, and a dragon circled behind it. The ape waved its hands, blocking out the sun and covering the sky. It was even taller than the mountains. This was the statue of the chaotic demonic ape. The temple was even larger than the imperial palace, and looked resplendent and magnificent. There was a city surrounding the temple, where the barbarian nobles lived. The houses were tall and spacious, and were all made of stone. There was a large road leading out of the mountains, and an endless stream of barbarian nobles came to pay their respects. The chaotic demonic ape temple uses this as a sign of loyalty. Hundreds of thousands of tribes, big and small, and hundreds of millions of barbarians, all of whom worship the chaotic demonic ape. Gu Qinsha already had a plan. The experts in this temple are as numerous as the clouds, and I can't occupy it. My plan is to sneak in and steal, then expand my influence. The other princes are all powerful, and I can't compare to them. This is the only path I can take. From all sorts of information and the words of Yiming, he already knew the strength of the chaotic, demonic ape temple. Even with Long Yuyun and the Frost Jade Dew, it was like trying to smash a rock with an egg. But if he didn't show any results, it would be hard for him to answer to the imperial court. Under normal circumstances, no matter how powerful a character was, it would be hard for him to sneak into the temple to steal because the chaotic, demonic ape temple would know about it. But now that the barbarian evil gods were under the control of the heavenly talisman sovereign, it was the best time to do so. The barbarians have plundered so much wealth and killed so many commoners in the past 10,000 years. This time, I'm going to get back some interest. Gu Qinsha came out from the mountain and followed the small path to the main road. On the small path beside the forest, there were many fully armored barbarian temple knights patrolling back and forth. They were tall and burly, holding sharp weapons in their hands. Even the slightest movement would not be missed. Seeing the commotion in the forest and someone walking out, the temple knights gathered. But when they saw Gu Qinsha, who was wearing a leather cloak and had a token hanging for his waist, they all bowed and made way for him, not daring to say anything. The shadow priest didn't reveal his true face, and his actions were mysterious and strange. In the barbarian temple, he was a synonym for terror. Gu Qinsha used this identity to sneak in, and it was just right. As he walked on the main road, many barbarians came from outside. They bowed every 3 steps, as if they were on a pilgrimage. Although the barbarians' flesh was torn, their faces were filled with sincerity and satisfaction. Some of the barbarian nobles rode on horses and carriages, wearing luxurious clothes similar to the barbarians in the past. However, the barbaric aura they exuded could not be concealed by the luxurious clothes they wore. Chapter 89. In the barbarian race, priests, nobles, commoners, and slaves had a strict hierarchy. The lower had to obey the higher-ups. The priests represented the power of gods, and nobles represented the power of kings. Although there were battles, due to the existence of evil gods, the power of gods suppressed the power of kings. But when these normal priests saw the shadow priest, they subconsciously moved aside. Even those who weren't able to dodge bowed and didn't dare to show any disrespect. Looks like I made the right move. If I don't impersonate this shadow priest, it'll be very difficult to sneak in. Gu Qinsha quickly walked through the main gate of the temple. No one dared to stop him, and he walked straight in. The status of a Dao Realm Transformation 6 Shadow Priest was unimaginably high. The Shadow Priest was a lone ranger and cultivated alone. He didn't even listen to the arrangements of the higher-ups and just followed the orders of the gods. Of course, he didn't have much power, and his life was about assassinating, cultivating, and communicating with the gods. This was why the higher-ups didn't restrict him. This identity didn't communicate with others, but it was suitable for him to sneak in. The moment he entered, he recalled Yi Ming's information. A map of the entire temple appeared in his mind. In the middle was the place where the higher-ups of the divine temple, including the archbishops and the high priests, resided and cultivated. The south was the sacrificial square. The west was where the treasury was. The north was where the criminals were locked up, and the east was where the priests lived. Apart from that, there were all sorts of side halls that were used to raise beasts, refine pills, craft blades, train cavalry, teach scriptures, and train energy. The temple was huge and spanned 100 miles. It was all made of jade-like stones that were smooth and ancient. Who knew how many years had passed? There were priests walking to and fro in the hall. There were no weaklings, and all of them were martial arts masters. Sometimes, one would see priests who were at the first or second transformation of Dao Realm. Based on tradition, the priests wore white robes, the higher-ups wore red robes, the high priest wore purple, the bishops wore gold, and it was said that the archbishop wore a multicolored robe. Shadow priests, on the other hand, always wore black robes. Gu Qinsha found out that the shadow priest was at the 6th transformation, and his status was similar to the high priest's. He had a high status, and no one dared to bother him. Then, he headed straight for the treasury on the west side of the temple. Of course, even if he was a shadow priest, he couldn't just casually enter the treasury. However, he had his own methods. Since the treasury was guarded, there would be loopholes. He could find the loopholes and sneak in. However, it was like a mouse entering a rice coop and moving as it pleased. After walking for half a day, he saw that he was about to reach the treasury. The defenses were tight. He flashed into a corner and entered the space of the sun-moon altar. There, he cultivated and waited quietly. The patrolling guards came in waves, seemingly endless, not giving anyone any chance at all. Clipchamp was also very patient. He observed and cultivated on the sun-moon sacrificial altar. He could see the situation outside clearly, but others couldn't see or touch him. This feeling was extremely mystical. The faint radiance of the sun-moon sacrificial altar shone down and seeped into his body. Cultivating the sun of heaven's investiture art was twice the result with half the effort. He practiced all kinds of fist techniques and comprehended the scripture of hell suppression and the chaotic world demon tome. Good and evil combined as one. His blood energy circulated endlessly. Just like that, he cultivated for a few hours. The guards near the treasury finally began to change. Some of the guards slowly retreated, while others came in from the outside. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he left the space of the sun-moon sacrificial altar and advanced as fast as he could. He only stopped when he encountered another wave of guards. Just like that, he would hide whenever he encountered someone. When there was no one around, he would appear and advance. 2 days later, he was close to the treasury. There wasn't just one treasury in the sun-moon sacrificial altar. There were weapons, armors, medicinal pills, magical treasures, secret manuals, all sorts of things. He wasn't in a hurry. He hid and observed the patterns. He noticed that over the past 2 days, there were also priests carrying boxes in from the outside and storing the treasures in the treasury. Other than that, there were also priests who were ordered to take out top-quality weapons, armors, and other items from the treasury. With his previous experience, Clipchamp had become a habitual thief. The space of the sun-moon sacrificial altar was like a divine artifact. No one could detect him. On top of that, after the great dragon armor absorbed the dragonification elixir, it floated silently in the air like a ghost. This made it even easier for him to move. He could even fly to the top of the hall and hide. He had many opportunities to enter the treasury, but he didn't dare to act rashly. That was because he realized that these treasury didn't contain top-notch treasures. What he needed now wasn't treasures, weapons, and medicinal pills, but items that could rapidly raise his strength. For example, the dragonification elixir and spirit crystals. If he could obtain a large amount of dragonification elixir and neutralize it with spirit crystals, his great dragon armor would be able to evolve into the king dragon armor. With that kind of armor, even Yiming wouldn't be able to do anything to him. Flood dragon, chi dragon, grand dragon, king dragon, and above that would be the divine dragon. From this, one could see how powerful the king dragon armor was. The devil-subduing blade could also take shape. The horn WIRM armor could also be upgraded. He was very patient. He observed and waited. He wasn't in a hurry. After observing for another 3 days, he finally noticed that out of the hundreds of treasury, there was one that was the most mysterious. It was an ancient bronze door that even the guards couldn't get close to. Moreover, every other day, 2 bishops wearing golden priest robes would come to take a look. They would chant to open the door and enter. They would only come out 2 hours later. He looked from afar and saw that the bronze door was really deep. It actually led underground, and he couldn't see what was inside. The 2 bishops were really strong, and based on his deduction, Clipchamp felt that they were above Yiming. This was why he didn't act rashly. In the chaotic world demon ape god temple, the bishops were only weaker than the archbishop. The archbishop was called Yuan Shasheng, and no one knew what his cultivation was. The bishops were all at the 7th and 8th stages of Tao realm. Some were even stronger than overlords. One had to know that this was the ape barbarian holy land, the main temple of the chaotic world demon ape god. The hundreds of millions of barbarians believed in this place, and along with the protection of the evil god, there were as many experts as the clouds. 2 bishops checked the treasury each day, but they aren't the same people. They rotate for 3 days, which means that there are at least 6 bishop-level experts. Gu Chansha calculated and felt that if he wanted to swallow this temple, it would be like an ant swallowing the sky. He wouldn't even be able to dream about it. Luckily, this was within his calculations. Even if he couldn't swallow this place, he would steal treasures to increase his strength. He would cause chaos here, and people would feel uneasy. If he could, then he would bring people to take advantage of the situation. If not, then he would leave and return to the border to learn from the other princes. The 2 bishops went in to check, and the door was not closed. I can take the opportunity to go in and then hide again. However, I have to control the time and speed. Gu Chansha secretly calculated, but he was not in a hurry. On the 4th day, he still observed and didn't attack. He just cultivated quietly. During these few days of cultivation, he comprehended the mysteries of the sun and moon altar. He also sorted out his martial arts, and his foundations became stronger and stronger. Ever since he came out of the capital city, he almost didn't cultivate properly. He was fighting every day and accumulated a lot of experience, but he didn't have time to digest it. First, he fought the Black Demon Bat, killed the Yin-Yang Scholar, killed the 100 Poisons Taoist and the Blood Soul sect leader among thousands of barbarian cavalry. Then met the Xian dynasty's royal family. Chun family obtained the untrustworthy mind-snatching talisman, went to the Peach County Temple to subdue the oracle, and made him a slave Ming. He carefully sorted out this series of events during these few days of boredom to see where he did wrong and where he did right. This way, his martial arts and his character could verify each other, making his soul and flesh even more ethereal. On the 5th day, another 2 bishops chanted an incantation to open the bronze door and entered to investigate. They were different from the previous bishops. There were 10 different bishops in total. Just 2 of these 10 bishops would be able to kill Gu Chench's team, including Ming, more than 10 times over. Gu Chansha waited for them to enter before suddenly appearing and entering the bronze door. But the moment he entered, he jumped into the sun and moon altar. From the perspective of outsiders, he was like a flickering shadow that disappeared after jumping into the bronze door. Whoosh! As expected, the moment he disappeared, a golden-robed bishop appeared in his place. He was the one who went in to investigate. He sensed something and immediately came to the door. He was so fast that it seemed like he was teleporting. If not for Gu Chench's agility, he would have been caught on the spot and would not have had the chance to return to the sun and moon altar. He's indeed powerful. I calculated again and felt that nothing would happen, but I still broke out in a cold sweat. Gu Chansha stood in the space of the sun and moon altar and looked at the golden-robed bishop who was walking to and fro to investigate. His heart could not help but pound. If he had been half a beat slower, he might have died. The golden-robed bishop's eyes seemed to flicker with fire. He sniffed and searched everywhere. The other 2 bishops also arrived. The 2 conversed in the barbarian language and searched again, but they still did not find anything. Only then did they give up and go down to investigate for a while. Then, they chanted an incantation and closed the bronze door. Gu Chansha waited for the 2 to leave, but he did not move. Instead, he waited quietly. As expected, it did not take a day. 2 hours later, the bronze door opened again. The 2 bishops appeared and checked the surroundings again. They did not find anything, so they left. As expected, it's a second investigation. Gu Chansha laughed coldly. I have plenty of patience. This time, it was completely safe. He came out of the space of the sun and moon altar and started to go deeper. These days, he had observed clearly. There should be no one guarding the back of the bronze door. It was very secretive, and if his level was not high enough, he would not be able to open the door. After the investigation, it would be safe for at least a day, which was enough for him to do many things. Landing on the ground, there was a bronze staircase. It went all the way down, forming a spiral staircase that went deep underground. He floated in the air and did not step on the ground. There might be some mechanism or alarm on the ground. The spiral staircase was very long. It went thousands of feet underground before the underground palace appeared. At the center of the underground palace was a pool made of bones. In the middle of the pool was roiling blood. It really is the dragon transformation fluid. Glyph was overjoyed. I didn't come here for nothing. That is, in this pool of dragon transformation fluid, there was actually a small pagoda floating. This pagoda had 9 levels and was 1 foot tall. There were countless runes flashing on each level. It was not afraid of the tyrannical, blazing power of the dragon transformation fluid at all. One must know that the dragon transformation fluid was brewed from the essence of countless prehistoric beasts' bloodlines, spiritual liquid, divine water, and all kinds of heavenly materials and earthly treasures. This was the wisdom of many evil gods. In order to let the barbarian race prosper, this fluid was no small matter. Not only was it difficult to refine, it also had the disadvantage of burning treasures. The more dragon transformation fluid there was, the stronger the blazing power would be. Could this be the dragon transformation pagoda that Yiming mentioned? But why is it so small? Could it be a model? Glyph immediately went forward to see how he could collect the dragon transformation fluid here. Chapter 90. He shook his head and could only take out the leather pouch that was originally used to store the dragon transformation fluid. He scooped up the entire pouch, but he could no longer find a container to store it in. Pour the dragon transformation fluid into the sun-moon altar? Glyph thought about it. Now that the altar space had expanded by a lot, there was a depression on the altar that was used to kill demons and offer blood sacrifices. Storing the dragon transformation fluid there should be no problem. No matter how powerful the dragon transformation liquid was, it could not burn the sun-moon altar. After using the leather bag 10 times in a row, the depression on the altar had accumulated to the size of a bucket. If this goes on, I'm afraid I won't be able to scoop out everything here by tomorrow. Glyph frowned. Time is of the essence. I'll take the pagoda first. This foot-tall pagoda floated above the entire pool of dragon transformation fluid, slowly absorbing its power. It was definitely not an ordinary item. Glyph directly floated above the pond, using his hand to grab small tower, wanted to lift it up. But unexpectedly, the pagoda did not budge at all. No matter how much strength he exerted, it was useless. What happened? Glyph circulated all of his energy, but it was useless. The tower ignored him, as if he were nothing more than an ant. This tower really is a treasure. It seems I'm not strong enough. Since that's the case, I'll evolve the great dragon armor. This is definitely the most important treasure. Otherwise, the barbarian bishop wouldn't come here every day to inspect it. Glyph's current strength was also very strong. Although it was not as strong as the 9 bulls and 2 tigers, it was not far off. Tao Realm Transformation 9 bulls and 2 tigers was a change in strength due to absorbing spiritual energy to change one's body. The heaven dew he consumed was even more mysterious than spiritual energy, and he cultivated the son of heaven god sealing technique. So it wasn't surprising for him to have such strength. But that wasn't all. The great dragon armor was even stronger. The armor had evolved many times, and in terms of strength, it was probably comparable to someone at Tao Realm Transformation 6. However, he still couldn't do anything about this pagoda. How heavy was this pagoda? Without further ado, Glyph entered the altar space, took off the great dragon armor, and immersed himself in the dragon transformation liquid he had just obtained. Boom! The great dragon armor burst into flames again. Glyph was already prepared. He took out the heavenly dew and dripped another 1,000 drops on it. The heavenly dew was neutralizing and catalyzing the great dragon armor's absorption of the dragon transformation elixir. Without the heavenly dew, the great dragon armor would have needed many years to slowly absorb it. However, the heavenly dew increased the great dragon armor's ability to absorb energy and, at the same time, changed its form. Of course, if he had enough heavenly dew, he wouldn't need the dragon transformation elixir at all. However, he didn't have enough heavenly dew. Even 3,000 drops wouldn't be enough for the great dragon armor to evolve. On top of that, even though the dragon transformation elixir was a little overbearing and difficult to absorb, it was still the best evolution elixir. Buzz, buzz, buzz. A bucket of dragon transforming liquid was completely absorbed. Gu Chansha hurriedly scooped more water into his leather pouch and poured more water onto the great dragon armor. The great dragon armor greedily absorbed the water. After pouring more than 30 bags of water on it, the great dragon armor finally reached its limit, and it floated up once more. Without thinking, Gu Chansha consumed his blood essence and used the sun and moon refining technique to refine the armor again. This time, the great dragon armor actually became transparent, almost as if it didn't exist. At the same time, its connection with Gu Chansha grew even closer, and it moved according to his will. Put on. With a slight thought from Gu Chansha, the great dragon armor immediately wrapped around his body, concealing his body. It was as if he was invisible, and his aura couldn't be sensed. Dragon concealment. He was delighted. This is the ability of invisibility. With this ability, won't it be safer for me to steal treasures? However, this was just invisibility. It was so that others couldn't see or smell him. But it wasn't like he had disappeared into the sun and moon sacrificial altar. If others touched him, they would still be able to touch his body. However, with this ability, coupled with the sun and moon sacrificial altar's ability, it seemed like he really wanted to develop into a godly thief. After this evolution, the great dragon armor's strength and defense had increased by several times. However, it still hadn't evolved to the level of the king dragon armor. Gu Chansha frowned. Logically, after absorbing so much dragon transforming liquid, the armor should have evolved. Could it be my own problem? I used the sun and moon sacrificial altar to refine this armor, but I'm limiting its evolution because I haven't reached the Tao realm yet. He could feel that the armor had stored a huge amount of energy. It was converted from the dragon transforming liquid and heavenly dew, but it hadn't been fully digested. Instead, it was full. Even if he soaked in the heavenly dew or dragon transforming liquid, he wouldn't be able to absorb it. It seemed like he had to break through to the Tao realm himself before using the sun and moon sacrificial altar to refine the armor. The great dragon armor couldn't evolve anymore. Gu Chansha had no choice but to use the dragon transforming liquid to refine the demon subduing edge. He had taken a liking to it. First, he used the blood-melting blade as a sacrifice to obtain the embryonic form. After that, he wouldn't need to use the blood-melting blade as a sacrifice. He could use the spirit essence to make it succeed. Of course, the dragon transforming liquid was even better now. He used another 500 drops of heavenly dew and dragon transforming liquid for the demon subduing edge to absorb. This time, the demon subduing edge changed and finally formed. It floated in the air, and its aura was even stronger than the dragon bone sword. Gu Chansha grabbed it and nodded his head. This demon subduing edge is not in its embryonic form, but a true weapon. I can use it to break the body of a Tao realm transformation realm expert. The weapon and armor were all crafted. Gu Chansha looked at the dragon transforming liquid and tower in the pond. He grabbed it once more, but it was like an ant trying to shake a tree. The great dragon armor's strength increased by several times, but it was useless. The tower was as heavy as a mountain. I can't waste time here. Gu Chansha thought about it and looked around to see if there was anything he could collect. However, this underground palace was completely empty. There was nothing but the pool of dragon transformation liquid and the pagoda. I have no choice, so I will just take as much as I can. Gu Chansha shook his head in disappointment. It hadn't been easy for him to enter the treasury, and he had taken a huge risk, but he hadn't gained much. Although the great dragon armor had evolved, and the devil subduing blade had evolved, it hadn't achieved the results he had expected. He scooped up hundreds of bags and kept them in the altar space. Suddenly, he had an idea. Rather than wasting the dragon transforming liquid here, why don't I use it to cultivate? He recalled that not only could this liquid increase the power of treasures, but it could also increase one's potential. However, only people above Tao Realm Transformation Realm could use it. Luckily, Gu Chunsha had the heavenly dew to neutralize it. He returned to the sun-moon altar space and stripped himself naked. He used half a bag of dragon transforming liquid and dropped 100 drops of heavenly dew to neutralize it. When his hand touched it, it felt really hot. Sun and moon refinement. Gu Chunsha touched the dragon transforming liquid and started to draw talismans on his body. He was actually using his body as a treasure to refine. Actually, this was the true cultivation path of the sun and moon refinement technique. He drew talismans on each of the important meridians. When the dragon transforming liquid touched his body, it felt like his entire body was about to burn up. But Gu Chunsha didn't care at all. After the medicinal properties were neutralized, it was just nice. He stood on the sun-moon altar and was shone on by the light. He circulated the sun and moon refinement technique's vital energy and shot out all sorts of seals. Along with the movement of his pores, the dragon transforming liquid on the surface of his body was actually absorbed and slowly merged with it. Once all the dragon transforming liquid disappeared, Gu Chunsha touched it once more and drew talismans all over his body. Just like that, he drew talismans cultivated and absorbed. He did it 9 times in a row. He felt like every inch of his body was being cut by knives, and he felt like his body was being burned. He wanted to die, but he couldn't. This body isn't mine, and my body isn't my true body. Sun and moon refinement technique will allow me to be reborn. His will was firm, and he didn't care about any pain at all. He just tried his best to circulate his vital energy faster and faster. The blood in his body gave out a surging sound like that of the sun and moon. Gu Chunsha suddenly felt like there was a mysterious power in his body that had been accumulated to the peak. It charged out and broke through space to see the outside world. Large amounts of spiritual energy landed and turned into a cooling liquid. It calmed down the heat in and out of his body. Wind blew in his pores, and he rode the wind. Gu Chunsha knew that he had stepped into the Tao realm. The dragon transforming liquid, along with the sun and moon refinement technique, finally made up for his lack of consolidation of his Tao foundations. He was reborn, and his foundation was unprecedentedly strong. He was really calm about stepping into the Tao realm. There was no joy or sadness. It was as if eating and drinking weren't a big deal. This was because he had accumulated too much, and after many divinations, it was natural that he would succeed. He didn't purposely try to break through and just strengthen his foundation. His Tao was full, and he easily broke through. Such a state of mind was really suitable for comprehending the Tao. Many people's minds wavered when breaking through to the Tao realm, causing their foundations to shake. I have reached the Tao realm. I have finally broken through the mortal body and am no longer immortal. I didn't expect that I would have such a day. Gu Chunsha wore the clothes on the ship and felt something in his heart. He was like a passerby in a misty rain, reminiscing about the past. It was like a dream, and he had obtained a new life. All sorts of feelings surged into his heart, but they turned into memories of the past. At this moment, it was his birthday. No matter how much he had experienced in the past, they were all mortal. Those who had obtained the Tao and those who hadn't, although there was just a thin veil between them, it was like the distance between heaven and man. I originally thought that the mortal realm and the Tao realm were only about absorbing spiritual energy and cleansing the fleshly body. But now it seems like it's completely different. My state of mind has become unworldly, and I'm no longer the same as before. My view of martial arts, the world, and my understanding of life are greatly different. This was the Tao realm. The most important thing about the Tao realm was the change in one's mental state. The first 10 years of his life were spent rolling in mud and suffering in the flames of karma. Now that he had obtained the Tao, his soul and body had changed. People who didn't break through to this realm, even if they used the spiritual liquid and strengthened their bodies, their mental states would never be Tao realm. This would cause a huge difference in martial arts. Chapter 91. This was because his body's toughness had greatly increased. Many things that he couldn't comprehend in the sun-moon refinement and sun-moon transformation were now deeply engraved in his mind. The blood flow in his body was sometimes hidden, sometimes surging, unpredictable and unpredictable. Wave after wave of spiritual energy was guided down. In a breath, his body became clean, his meridians strengthened, and his speed became ghostly. I used to be an insensible child, but now I'm finally an adult. He smiled and nodded. He put on the great dragon armor again and jumped out of the sun-moon altar space. The foot-tall pagoda was still floating in the pool of dragon transformation fluid. Gu Qinsha walked up, but he didn't grab it this time. He knew that even if he cultivated to the Tao realm and his strength increased greatly, he wouldn't be able to lift this pagoda. But he had an idea. His fingers started to ooze blood as he drew the runes. It was still the sun-moon refinement technique. His blood was different now. It already had the luster of the sun and moon, and when looked at against the light, there was actually a faint rainbow glow. As his realm changed, the sun-moon refinement technique's refining ability greatly increased. He actually wanted to use the refining technique to communicate with this pagoda. The pagoda was covered in runes with his blood, but it still didn't move. But he didn't panic. He made a sacrificial gesture with both hands. Gu Qinsha sacrificed his blood to the heavens, borrowing the sun-moon refinement technique to communicate with his soul and blood to cultivate this treasure. Large amounts of blood surged into the altar space, and his face turned pale. As he sacrificed, the altar space rippled, and a strange power was transmitted into his body, allowing his fingers to touch the pagoda. The runes written in blood on the pagoda suddenly flickered and actually turned into blazing flames. The flames were like the light of the sun and moon. The flames floated up and turned into divine dragons. I sacrificed my blood according to the sun-moon refinement technique, and it can actually attract the sun-moon dragon fire. Gu Qinsha nodded. This was the sun-moon refinement technique he had just comprehended. The pagoda actually started to tremble, and it had a faint telepathic connection with Gu Qinsha. No matter how strong a treasure is, it can't withstand the heavenly Tao power of the sun-moon altar. Moreover, this pagoda is still in its embryonic form, and it hasn't been truly refined by anyone. It's still in the nurturing stage. Gu Qinsha had already comprehended many things. Pagoda withdraw. This pagoda was burned by the sun and moon dragon fire for a full 2 hours. The moment the dragon fire was extinguished, Gu Qinsha imprinted a blood-colored rune on it. This time, it was the symbol of the sun and moon. The pagoda actually produced a vortex of suction within it, completely absorbing the entire pool of dragon transformation fluid. The pagoda itself swelled to the height of a person, 7 or 8 times its original size. Then, the pagoda rumbled and flew into the space of the sun-moon altar, never to move again. Gu Qinsha's heart was filled with joy as he left the necropolis, then headed to the bronze door and entered the altar space. Now, all he could do was wait for the door to open and for the 2 bishops to enter the underground palace to investigate. Then, he would be able to get out and fly as high as the sky. Of course, collecting the dragon transformation fluid and this pagoda was not enough. If he wanted to increase his strength and fight against the other princes, he had to obtain more treasures. After entering the altar space, he consumed another 10 drops of heavenly dew and activated the sun and moon refinement to replenish his lost vital energy. After 4 hours, he recovered and was filled with energy once more. He had used his own blood as a sacrifice to obtain the sun and moon dragon fire, and finally used the power of the heavenly Tao to collect the pagoda. He had used up a lot of energy and had drawn out 30% of his blood. If he was a normal person, he would have died. The sacrifice didn't just include others, but also himself. When he was advancing to the Tao realm, Gu Qinsha comprehended a few special methods of sacrificing himself. Fortunately, he had the heavenly dew to nourish him. If he just absorbed spiritual energy to recover, he would need at least 3 months. The heavenly dew lasted for 4 hours. After recovering his strength, Gu Chansha observed the pagoda that was as tall as a person. There were many layers of dragon transformation fluid inside. It had not been completely absorbed, but it was still squirming and changing. He frowned slightly. Although he had collected it, he had no idea what this pagoda was for. He could not activate it. This meant that the pagoda was just a decoration. Unless he used the blood sacrifice to summon the sun and moon dragon fire and refine it dozens or even hundreds of times, he might be able to make the pagoda his own treasure. But if he did that, he would lose too much vital energy, and even if he had the heavenly dew, his foundations would be damaged. Of course, if his cultivation increased, like when he reached Tao Realm Transformation 4 or 5, his blood would be even stronger and the dragon flames he summoned would be even stronger. Maybe a few times would be enough. He took another look at the Dharma Breaker immortal sword on the altar. Although it had the mark of Grand Preceptor Wenhong and was difficult to refine as his cultivation level increased, he could sacrifice himself and summon the heavenly Tao Sun and Moon Dragon Fire to erase the mark. Although Grand Tutor Wenhong was strong, he wasn't as strong as the heavenly Tao. He did everything and waited at the entrance to open. He comprehended martial arts and consolidated his Tao foundations. He stabilized his Tao realm in case it regressed in the future. As expected, a day passed and the bronze door opened once more. 2 bishops appeared and they walked down the spiral stairs. The opportunity didn't come again. He saw the 2 bishops enter the underground palace, and they didn't see him. They used the great dragon armor to jump out of the bronze door and enter the altar once more. The instant he entered and exited, his speed was unbelievably quick. How long? The moment he entered, there was a tsunami-like roar. The 2 bishops charged out and realized that the dragon transformation liquid and the pagoda had disappeared. This matter was huge. The 2 bishops hollered, and the treasury, and even the entire hall were alarmed. Shortly after, many experts rushed over. The first to arrive was a ball of light. Dust exploded and a teen wearing a 7-colored priest robe appeared. He didn't give off any barbarian aura and was just a human. This is the Archbishop, Yuan Shashan. I can't see through his strength. Although Gu Chenshan knew that no one could find him in the altar space, his heart still tightened. This person's aura made him feel like he was suffocating. He didn't even need to attack to look at him, and he could kill him. Archbishop Yuan Shashing asked questions in the barbarian language. More and more important people appeared in the temple. Gu Chensh's heart went cold. The demonic ape temple of chaos was too strong. Even the 7th prince would die if he came here. Fortunately, he didn't have the intention to attack. He just wanted to steal the treasures and increase his strength. These people looked around and discussed among themselves. A large number of experts gathered in the treasury and searched every inch of it, but they didn't find anything. Searched the entire temple. Spread out. Yuan Shasheng looked around again and again. His eyes were dark and gloomy. He gave the order and left with the crowd. The number of guards in the treasury increased greatly. There were guards both inside and outside the building. Gu Qinsha laughed coldly. Do you think you can stop me like this? These important people are gone. It'll be easier for me to steal. Let's go to the medicine storehouse first. Generally speaking, the most valuable place in the treasury was the medicine storehouse. The demonic ape temple had been accumulating for thousands of years. God knew how many good things were stored in the medicine storehouse. While the guards were checking the medicine storehouse, Huang Xiaolong snuck in. Now that the great dragon armor had evolved, it had the ability to conceal itself. It was easier for him to conceal his aura. Now that the experts were patrolling other places, it was the best opportunity for him. Huang Xiaolong snuck into the medicine storehouse and hid in the sun-moon sacrificial altar. The medicine storehouse was huge. There were tens of thousands of boxes and shelves. The whole storehouse was filled with spirit energy. It was a huge spirit gathering formation. In most important place, at the heart of the spirit gathering formation, there was a stone. The shape of the stone was odd. It was grayish-white and seemed to be some kind of egg fossil. It was about the size of a human head. It was precisely because of this stone that the entire pill storehouse was filled with dense spiritual chi. While ensuring that the medicinal properties of the pills would not disperse, they would also become purer. Any spirit gathering formation needed a treasure to stabilize the formation eye. The stronger the treasure, the more stable the formation, and the stronger the spirit gathering effect. However, Gu Qinsha didn't take the stone. Instead, he relied on his intuition to find the best pills. At a glance, he saw 9 elixirs sealed in spirit crystals in the most prominent position of the treasury. The fist-sized spirit crystal contained 9 white pills the size of rice grains. He didn't know what they were. He couldn't recognize them immediately. However, they were wrapped in such a way. They must be unparalleled treasures. Thinking back, the 100 Tribulations golden pill that the Heavenly Talisman Emperor gave to Liu Baiwei wasn't wrapped in a spirit crystal. He threw the 9 pills into the sun-moon sacrificial altar and started moving the boxes. There were labels on the boxes. They were gold, purple, azure, red, and black. Clearly, the black pills were the lowest quality, while the gold ones were the highest. Gu Qinsha didn't open the boxes. He first moved the golden-labeled pills into the sun-moon sacrificial altar. He moved dozens of boxes before he finished. He then moved the purple-labeled pills. There were at least 100,000 boxes of pills in the storeroom. There were dozens of golden ones, hundreds of purple ones, and thousands of azure ones. Gu Qinsha knew that he couldn't move all of them. He only needed to move the gold and purple ones. It would be best if he could move all the blue ones too. On the east side of the sun-moon sacrificial altar were the treasures he looted from the temple in Tao County. There were thousands of boxes. He didn't have time to count them. To prevent confusion, Gu Qinsha placed the treasures on the west side. Wearing the great dragon armor, he was fast and strong. It only took him a short while to move all the purple-labeled pills. Then, he moved on to the azure pills. Halfway through, there were 2,000 boxes of azure pills. He heard the noise outside. He knew that his chance to make a fortune had passed. In the end, he grabbed the stone in the center of the spirit gathering formation and threw it into the altar. Then he hid. Without the stone, the spirit energy in the spirit gathering formation was dozens of times weaker. At this moment, the door opened. Some barbarian experts came in for inspection. This was a routine investigation. There weren't any powerful people. Chapter 92. He had struck it rich this time. The pool of dragon transformation liquid and the mysterious pagoda could not be used for the time being. However, the elixirs were real riches. The medicinal pills of the chaotic, demonic ape temple were probably extremely valuable and rare treasures. They weren't ordinary goods like the blood-strengthening pill. Although the blood-strengthening pill was sought after by the nobles, it would not be able to enter the treasury of the chaotic, demonic ape temple. His cultivation had improved greatly, and he had stepped into the Tao realm. His strength could not be compared to before. Very quickly, he passed through hundreds of miles of mountains and left the resting place of the demonic apes. He found the place where Yi Ming and the rest were resting. "Master, why have you been gone for so long?" Yi Ming saw Gu Qinsha and hurried over. The great dragon armor changed according to the user's will. If one did not want it to be invisible, it would turn black and white. The armor quickly disappeared and turned into a belt. "Did you guys encounter anything?" Gu Qinsha looked around, and there seemed to be traces of battle. "Could it be that Long Yuyun and the Frost Jade do have not met up with us?" "Your Highness, they did not come. Instead, we met a few groups of demonic apes that came a hunt. We killed them all," Liu Yu reported. "Long Yuyun and the Frost Jade should have arrived by now. Could it be that something happened?" Gu Qinsha guessed and thought of a plan. "Since the demonic apes have found us, we should not stay here for long. Let's retreat to the further mountains to rest." "Yes." Everyone quickly retreated and started to leave the forest around the temple. Gu Qinsha knew that he had caused such a big commotion in the temple. He was afraid that a large-scale search of the mountain was about to begin. It was better to hide first. They continued to march. After 5 days, they were more than 1,000 miles away from the demonic apes' range. Only then did they stop. "Your Highness, we have been in the mountains for almost a month. We have been wandering in the forest and have not achieved anything. The other princes are like a raging fire." Three Incenses was a little anxious. "Who said I didn't contribute?" Gu Chensha snickered in his heart, but he didn't say anything. He had collected all the dragon-transforming liquid that had been accumulated in the demonic ape temple for many years. He had also taken away the pagoda. He had certainly destroyed the barbarian race's grand plan that had been laid out for several decades. If one were to compare the merits, then perhaps he had surpassed the seventh prince Gufasha. However, he still could not hand over the pagoda and the dragon transformation fluid. It was better to keep quiet and make a fortune. No matter how great the merit was, it could only be buried. "There's no rush. We don't have many people," he comforted. "I'll wait for Long Yun, Cold Jade Dew, and the others to gather before making any further plans. Besides, it's not like we didn't gain anything. I entered the demonic ape temple of confusion and found out some secrets. The number of masters in the temple is not something we can contend with. We have to rearrange our plans. We'll wait for the prince's plan before reporting it to the princess." The three fragrances didn't want to rush him, but when they saw Gu Chinch's confident look, they became a little suspicious. They couldn't figure it out at all. "Yiming, let's discuss this," Gu Chansha called out. "Yes." Yiming followed him far away, out of the three fragrances' line of sight, and immediately knelt down on one knee. "Congratulations, Master. You've gained a lot this time. You've stepped into the Tao realm, and from now on, you've left the mortal world and entered the world of immortals. You actually saw through it?" Gu Chensha was proud of his sun and moon transformation technique, but he didn't expect Yiming to see through him. "It's because Master's aura is too strong. You've stepped into the Tao realm, and your spiritual energy is surging." Yiming stood up. Master must have gained a lot this time. Of course. Gu Chansha told him about the dragon transformation fluid and the pagoda. "Is that pagoda the dragon transformation pagoda?" "Yes." Yiming was shocked. "That's the dragon transformation pagoda. The demonic ape temple of confusion put in a lot of effort, and all the masters had to use the dragon transformation fluid to nurture it. When it grows up, it will become an extremely powerful treasure of the temple, and it can nurture thousands of masters. Who would have thought that Master would snatch it away just like that? They can't bear such a loss. It's more painful than destroying a few tribes or even killing the barbarian king. I can't use this treasure yet." Gu Chensha frowned. "I can't increase my combat power for now." "It's okay. Master can slowly use the refining techniques to refine it in the future." Yiming said, "In the future, this treasure will definitely shine." "What is this?" "It's actually sealed in a spiritual crystal." Gu Chensha took out the best spiritual pill he had obtained from the storage. Within the fist-sized spiritual crystal, there was a white pill the size of a rice grain. "This isn't a pill." Yiming's eyes widened, and he examined it closely. "If I'm not wrong, this is a fragment of the heavenly demon relic. In the ancient times, the heavenly demons came from the outside, and they almost destroyed the world. The gods and a monster race joined forces to fight against them, and they finally defeated the heavenly demons. After the strong heavenly demons were killed, their essence would turn into a heavenly demon relic. If it was obtained by a very powerful person, they could use it to create an incarnation. The demonic ape temple of confusion actually has such a thing. Another one that I can't use." Gu Chensha kept it. He started to check the pills in the golden labeled box. He took out a box from the altar space and opened it. There were many golden bottles inside. He opened the bottles, and within were spiritual liquids. Within were pills that shone a 7-colored light. They were only the size of a thumb, and there was only one in each bottle. "This is the 7 Saint Heart refining pill, and it is really amazing. It is a pill left by the 7 saints of the human race and can't be refined anymore. If one consumes it, it can open up one's heart and increase one's mental energy and soul. Apart from that, there are many other benefits. It doesn't strengthen the body, but the soul. Especially if one cultivates the glass body, the next step would be to use it to do 1,000 things at once. If one can consume the seventh Saint Heart refining pill, it will be much easier. Apart from that, the key is that after one cultivates the Samadhi true fire to cultivate the 9 transformation glass body, the last stage is the true fire training brain. One needs to have really strong mental energy to be able to control their own true fire. If one can consume this pill before that, the success rate will increase greatly. Yiming muttered, good thing, good thing. I didn't expect the chaotic world demon ape temple to have so many 7 Saint Heart refining pills. No wonder there are so many bishop-level experts. This is a magical item. Gu Chunsha was overjoyed. Even old 7 needs this pill, not to mention other experts below 8 transformations. Won't one be sold for a sky-high price? No, no one will sell this. Even cities won't trade for it. He remembered that there were a total of 24 boxes of such pills, and each box had 20 bottles. In total, there were 480 of them. Who had so much wealth? He immediately consumed the 7 Sages Heart Cultivation Pill. As soon as it entered his stomach, the pill completely disappeared. Then, 7 ancient human great sages appeared in front of him, educating the people and teaching them. He seemed to be standing at the peak of civilization, comprehending many truths that he had never comprehended before. The scenes disappeared, and his body was still his own. He didn't gain any strength, but he felt like his soul had been enlightened. His mind was really sharp, and he observed his body. In the past, he couldn't see many small details, but now he could see them clearly. Even the various structures and acupoints in his brain could be seen clearly. This pill is just godly. Gu Chunsha sighed and thought to himself, even if it was a foolish person who had never studied before, if he were to consume this pill and study, he would probably become an elementary scholar, high scholar, or even a grand scholar. But this 7 Saint Heart refining pill was the same as the Tiger Wolf pill. Each person could only consume it once. In reality, the 7 Sacred Heart Cultivation Pill was condensed from the will of the 7 saints of the primordial human race. In other words, it was the comprehension of the great Tao. After one consumed it, it was equivalent to directly listening to the teachings of the 7 saints. This kind of comprehension was rare and precious, and it could directly enhance one's soul and sublimate it. Such comprehension would accompany one for the rest of one's life. Of course, one had to comprehend it. Gu Chunsha felt like his Tao foundations had become more firm and deep. He placed this pill in the Sun-Moon altar, but didn't dare to let Yiming consume it. If Yiming broke through, it would be troublesome. He then took out the box with the purple label and looked at what was inside. There were also bottles of pills soaked in spiritual liquid. This time, the pills were also purple, like purple gold frost. There were silver runes on them. This is the Purple Blood Rejuvenation Pill. It has the ability to regenerate and replenish one's body. If you are heavily injured, consume it, and you can instantly recover from many injuries. It can also recover your physical strength, true essence, and Xiantian Gang Qi. If I use up my Xiantian Gang Qi, I can consume it and it will regenerate in my body. Yiming said, this pill is very useful for people who have cultivated Xiantian Gang Qi. It is also very precious in the barbarian temple. Only the bishop can be rewarded with it. I see. Gu Chunsha nodded and took out the green label box. There were also pills inside, but they were not soaked in the spiritual liquid. The fragrance of the pills was also sky green. This is the spirit cleansing pill. It isn't made by the barbarians, but by the ancient celestial sections. Yiming was knowledgeable. The disciples of the celestial sects cultivate the primordial secret technique and consume a lot of spiritual qi. It isn't enough for them to gather qi every day, so they have to consume this pill. This pill is formed from spiritual qi and all sorts of clear qi. The effect is much stronger than gathering qi alone. The barbarians should have traded with the monster race. The monster race and the celestial sects have fought for many years, and they have obtained many pills from the celestial sections. The barbarians can only refine the blood-strengthening pill, tyrant blood pill, and dragon blood pill. They aren't as effective as the spirit-cleansing pill. Gu Chunsha knew about the blood-strengthening pill, tyrant blood pill, and dragon blood pill. They were used by the barbarians to increase cultivation. The blood-strengthening pill was the lowest grade, the tyrant blood pill was slightly stronger, and the dragon blood pill was the strongest. It was like how the great Yonko court had pills within the royal family. They were essence-nurturing pill, essence-replenishing pill, and chi-replenishing pill. Logically speaking, the princes had to consume the essence-nurturing pill from a young age to strengthen their foundations. When they grew up and cultivated, they would consume the essence-replenishing pill. When they reached Dao Realm, they would receive the chi-replenishing pill. Unfortunately, since young, Gu Chencha's pills were taken away, causing the gap between him and the other princes to be huge. Although Liu Baiwei gave him the essence-nurturing pill and essence-replenishing pill, they were useless and were given to his son to improve, be it the blood-strengthening pill, tyrant blood pill, or dragon blood pill. It was still the essence-nurturing pill, essence-replenishing pill, and chi-replenishing pill. Only the nobles and royalty could use them often. As they were precious and the ingredients were hard to find, they couldn't be sold. Now that the imperial court had developed the battle technique wine, its effects were even better than the essence-nurturing pill and essence-replenishing pill. However, it could only be given to generals. Chapter 93. I don't know what kind of egg this is. It has already turned into a fossil, but there's a huge amount of vitality within it. It should be the egg of some ancient divine beast. Yiming actually did not recognize it, but this thing can indeed suppress the eye of the array. Its effect is even better than the glass jade skeleton that Master obtained last time. Gu Chensha counted his gains. Other than the dragon transformation liquid and the dragon transformation pagoda, there were 487 sage heart refining pills, 3,000 purple blood life returning pills, and 30,000 clear spirit pills. If I convert them into money? He thought about it and shook his head. These things can't be sold at all. Others don't have that much money. For example, the 7 sage heart refining pill, it would be difficult to buy one with tens of millions. Just based on his current savings, he was afraid that he had already surpassed some millennium aristocratic families. Whoosh! A bluebird flew down from the sky and dropped a letter. Blue-winged sea rock. Gu Chensha recognized that it was Long Yuyun's pet bird. He opened the letter and saw a map, marking the meeting place. Long Yuyun wants me to go to a barbarian tribe. The meeting place marked on the map was a tribe on the way. Immediately, Gu Chensha led the troops back. After 4 to 5 days of marching, a plain, lake, and grassland appeared in front of them. It was about 1,000 miles in radius, suitable for survival. Usually, this kind of environment was suitable for barbarian tribes. Prepare for battle. The order was given, and everyone held their spears, ready to draw their blades at any time. At this time, a few people flew over from afar. Gu Chencha's eyes were sharp, and he saw that it was Long Yuyun and Yuhan Lu. He immediately ordered people to put down the fire talisman spears and went forward. "Why are the two of you here? Didn't we say to meet near the temple?" He was a little annoyed. According to the plan, everyone would gather outside the temple, and he would enter the temple to attract experts. Everyone would work together to kill them, and then change the direction of the battle. This way, he could assassinate the people in the temple, and at the same time, he could see the background of Long Yuyun and Yuhan Lu, who knew that the two girls would not go, and this ruined his plan. "Your Royal Highness, the vicinity of a demonic ape temple is too dangerous. We thought about it and decided to take our time." Yuhan appeared embarrassed. "It's dangerous, but I have a specific plan. You've caused me to march in the forest for almost a month in vain. How much time have I wasted?" Gu Chensha frowned. The chaotic, demonic ape temple's experts are as numerous as the stars in the sky. You didn't scout out the details and just went in rashly. With just a few people, the chaotic, demonic ape temple can annihilate all of them. If you want to court death, don't drag us down with you. At this moment, a middle-aged man behind Yuhanlu spoke. The middle-aged man's skin was like jade, and his eyes shone with a threatening light. His entire body seemed to be in a trance like a ghost or a god, as if he was in a different dimension from a human. "Who are you?" Gu Chinch's eyes were sharp. "Junior, could it be that you're still unconvinced?" The middle-aged man laughed as he walked out. "You've probably never seen a true expert before, and think that everything under the heavens is under your control. Do you think you're like your father, Tianfu?" "Uncle Ba, don't be rude to His Highness," Yu Hanlu hurriedly said. "Seventh niece, I heard that this person wanted to recruit our precious Jade Nation, but now it seems like he's arrogant and conceited. He's actually trying to strike a stone with an egg. Since that's the case, I'll teach him a lesson. I'll let him know what it means to overestimate one's capabilities." The middle-aged man called Uncle Ba suddenly stretched out his hand, piercing through the air as he grabbed at Gu Qinsha. His speed was incomparably fast, and there was basically no time for Gu Qinsha to react. However, just as he was about to grab Gu Qinsha, a bright light burst out from beside Gu Qinsha. With the devil's subduing blade in his hand, the great dragon armor enveloped his body. Sun and moon annihilation. The sun roamed the outer space. The bright moon balanced the yin and yang. The light dispelled the darkness, and the God Force destroyed all evil. At this moment, Gu Chinch's cultivation base was boosted by the great dragon armor's sun and moon annihilation. Not good. Uncle Ba's killing intent was boundless, and a piercing light shone in front of him as the devil's subduing blade collided with him. Pucci. Several of his fingers were sliced off. He was scared out of his wits and hastily retreated, opening his mouth to spit out blood. Pung! He spat out a ball of Xiantian earth energy to try to block Gu Qinsha. This person was actually a Dao realm transformation cultivator. But when the Xiantian earth energy touched the sun and moon annihilation, it exploded and shattered. The remaining energy struck the great dragon armor, but was unable to break through its defense. Be it the devil's subduing blade or the great dragon armor, they had both been enhanced by the sky, dew, and dragon transformation liquid, so they could slice through the bodies of experts below the glass body jade body. A few fingers is a warning. Gu Qinsha didn't chase. Next time, don't fight in front of me. Jade Frost Dew and Long Yuyun were shocked. The few experts behind them were speechless. They didn't expect that Baoyu Country Prince Yuba would actually lose in one move. How was his armor so strong? 3 incenses couldn't see through Gu Qinsha anymore. "Junior, you actually used your weapon and armor to injure me." While retreating, Yuba pointed forwards. Hula. Another wave of Xiantian earth energy struck. However, a shadow appeared behind Gu Qinsha. With a slap, the shadow dissipated the finger force of the innate Gang Qi. Then, the shadow closed in on Yuba and thrust out a palm force. Pung! Yuba flew into the air and smashed into the ground. He spat out fresh blood and fainted. Yiming had attacked. He didn't want to expose Yiming, but it seemed like Baoyu Country didn't care about him at all. If he didn't show his strength, it would be tough for them to work with him in the future, much less recruit him. Dao Realm Transformation 7. The Baoyu Country experts all retreated. Yiming retreated behind Gu Qinsha. "Master, I used earth energy to seal a few of his acupoints. If you don't like him, I can let it explode in his body." "No need. Although he is suspicious of trying to assassinate me, he isn't from the evil barbarian race. Just teach him a lesson and give Lady Hanlu face." Gu Qinsha waved his hands. Yiming waved his hands, and a few balls of earth energy flew out from Yuba's body. Yuba slowly woke up. I didn't expect King to have such an expert under him. The Frosty J. Dew and Long Yiyun both calmed themselves down and told the experts behind them not to act rashly. They had a new understanding of Gu Qinsha. "Your Highness, we didn't follow your orders this time and broke the agreement, but we have a great gift for you." "What gift?" Gu Chinch's expression calmed down, and he wasn't really angry. "There is no need for the two of you to panic. We are friends, so don't worry about such a small matter. We have taken down this barbarian race tribe in your name." Long Yuyun hurriedly said, "There are over 100,000 people in this barbarian tribe. After we conquer it, we'll fortify the fortress and enslave all of these barbarians. From now on, we'll help you guard this place and expand your territory." "Oh, Gu Chunsha looked into the distance and saw many barbarian slaves under the guard of a group of soldiers. They were carrying stones, chopping wood, and building fortresses. Gu Chunsha was delighted. His plan to deal with the demonic ape temple of confusion had failed, so he had to take the old road of expanding his territory. Now that Long Yuyun and the Cold Jade Du had offered him such a big gift, he would gladly accept it. Taking down this barbarian race tribe and expanding their territory would be an explanation to the imperial court. We don't need to talk here. Let's go to the castle. Gu Chunsha waved his hand. Then, everyone went to the barbarian castle. At the highest point of the castle, Gu Chunsha was alone with Long Yuyun and Han Lu. Everyone else retreated. Lady Han Lu, I have been extremely benevolent to you. What you did was not right. Today, Yu Ba deliberately provoked me. Was he trying to test my strength? Gu Chunsha did not beat around the bush and said, we cooperated and were honest. First, you did not abide by the agreement, and then you played dirty tricks. What is your intention? I was in the wrong in this matter, but it wasn't my intention either. Yu Ba is my father's younger brother, and is also my uncle. In the imperial court, he is also a person with great power. This time, he insisted on being in the front and actually attacked you. His cultivation is extremely high, and even I couldn't stop him. Yu Hanlu hurriedly explained. I hope such a thing will not happen again. Gu Chunsha waved his hand and said, you did not follow the agreement and went to the demonic ape temple. I will not blame you, but you must help me with everything you have. Of course, I have already sent people to give you the list of barbarian slaves. I will let your 5 subordinates take over. At the same time, I will give them men to lead. Han Lu said, as for you, Ba, I don't think you will provoke us anymore. Very good. Gu Chunsha turned to Long Yuyun and said, go and fetch my adopted son from the manor in the capital city. There's nothing left to run the manor in the capital city, so this is going to be my fief from now on. I need reliable people to manage it, and I'll expand it step by step. I will find someone to do it. Long Yu nodded and said, other than that, I will spend a lot of money to hire people from the Lu family to come here. Everyone in their family is skilled in construction. The barbarian city is very simple. It is not possible to make this your territory. That's right. Gu Chunsha looked at the outside of the castle. It was indeed simple. It was made of wood and stone. It gave off a sense of barbarism. As a stable territory, it was far from enough. If it was a pass like the Sky-Bearing Pass, it would be extremely stable. Even Xiantian Qi might not be able to break through it. There were cannons, crossbows, guns, and arrows. Even experts would be at a disadvantage, not to mention the barbarian army. Moreover, after this place was expanded, adventurers and Jianghu people would come to this place continuously. The power would snowball. In terms of internal affairs, both of you are more experienced than me. I can totally entrust it to you. Gu Chunsha nodded. If that is the case, let us go and make arrangements. Han Lu stood up and walked out with Long Yuyun. After a while, Lu Yu and the others came in to report the situation. The 5 of you swallow these pills. Gu Chunsha took out 5 7-sage cultivation pills. The 5 of them did not know what the pills were. They did not hesitate and swallowed them all. Immediately, they looked like they were deep in thought. Buzz. Chapter 94. To build the land, the 5 of them had to be the pillars of the future. Seeing the 5 of them enter the Tao realm at the same time, Gu Chunsha nodded to himself. This was not the effect of the 7 sages' heart-refining pill. Their foundations were strong to begin with, and the god bloodline in their bodies had been stimulated. He had calculated that the 5 of them would enter the Tao realm before him, but he did not expect that he would be ahead of them in the chaotic, demonic ape temple treasury. We actually entered the Tao realm. The 5 of them came back to their senses and hurriedly knelt down. Just now, we saw the 7 sages of the ancient humans preaching to us. Your Highness actually gave us such a pill. How can we repay you in the future? Build the land well, and help me suppress the barbarians here. At the same time, keep an eye on Long Yuyun, Yuhan Lu, and the others in case they cause trouble. Gu Chunsha gestured for the 5 of them to stand up. Your Highness, We have taken over about 3,000 of Long Yuyun's warriors. We are currently reorganizing them, Zhou Bu reported. As for Yu Hanlu's army, we did not take over because the people from Baoyu Nation seem to be against us. That's only natural. Dragon Sword Island has been completely destroyed. Although Long Yuyun has many tricks up her sleeve, she still has the mentality of having her country destroyed and her home destroyed. As for those experts from Baoyu Nation, they're just valuing themselves and trying to sell themselves for a good price. If my guess is correct, it's very likely that they are also negotiating with the people from the Great Wei Dynasty. Gu Qinsha pondered. Actually, what I lack the most now is manpower. Apart from the 5 of you, the others cannot take charge. This land needs talents, and the 5 of you are far from enough. Your Highness, we are also nurturing talents. We have a few in our team who have already entered the 3rd level of the mortal realm. They are martial arts masters. Lu Yu is very optimistic. That is not enough. You need to study more. Those who only know how to fight are also boorish. Gu Qinsha already had a plan. I will set up a military academy in the city. Yiming will be the teacher. Every day, you will have to attend 2 hours of class to learn about military affairs and internal affairs. In addition, I will write a letter to Marquis Dashi and have him send some management talents and military strategists to teach you. Marquis Dashi had gifted him 300 pieces of horned flood dragon armor to express his goodwill. If he was short on manpower, he would definitely ask this person for help. Gu Qinsha wanted to nurture the 243 soldiers under his command into true talents. They wanted to be able to hold their own and at least be the talents of county. There were at least tens of thousands of people in a county and, at most, hundreds of thousands of people. A person who could govern a county was extraordinary. Go and get Sanxiang for me, he ordered. After a while, the 3 fragrances arrived. Si Xiang was the first to speak. Does your Highness have any orders? I want to write a letter to Marquis Dashi. Do you have a fast way to send a letter? Since they had established their fief, the most important thing now was to restore communication with the outside world. They could either send memorials to the imperial court or contact the 4 regions. This barbarian tribe was very far away from the outside world, so it was impossible to build a road. Gu Qinsha did not have the ability to send a letter, so he could only ask San Xiang. That is convenient, Si Xiang replied. We have many spirit eagles, so it is not difficult to send a letter. In this wilderness, even spirit eagles are not convenient. It will take 2 to 3 days to fly back and forth. I feel that you have a faster way to send a letter. Gu Qinsha smiled and asked, the Heavenly Designer Institute seems to have invented something new. Won't you let me take a look? Since your Highness has asked, it is not good for us to not answer. Si Xiang took out a black iron box. It was the size of a palm, and there was a golden pen inside. It was unknown how it was made. This item is called the Heavenly Cycle Box. As long as you write with the golden pen inside, the iron box on the princess side will receive the same message. Rumor has it that there is a Heavenly Cycle Pagoda in the Heavenly Designer Institute that can cover the surroundings with supreme power. The words we write will first enter the Heavenly Cycle Pagoda and then enter the other boxes. So magical. Gu Qinsha only knew that in the Immortal Tao, there was the 10,000 Li crystal image technique. Even if they were separated by tens of thousands of Li, both parties could communicate through a crystal. But that was an item of the immortals and not something ordinary people could possess. But now, it had appeared in front of him. The most difficult thing to manage in such a large empire was the poor communication. For example, if there was a rebellion in a remote place by the time the news reached the capital, it would be too late to send an army over. Therefore, in history, there were very few people who could achieve long-term peace after unifying 100 countries. After the Heavenly Talisman Emperor ascended to the throne, the first thing he did was to build canals and pave roads so that communication would be incomparably fast. And now, he even created such a miraculous item. In the future, no matter how remote a place was, as long as a message was sent out, it would immediately reach the heart of the capital. That's good. Immediately send a message to Marquis Jusher. Tell him that I've conquered the barbarian tribes, and I need talents to manage them. I hope that Marquis Jusher can send experts to reinforce us. Gu Chunsha spoke. Let's do it. Si Xiang took the golden pen and wrote on it. I have to think of a way to buy some of these things from the Heavenly Designer Institute. Gu Chunsha thought. I wonder how much they are worth. Your Highness, the most pressing matter right now is not to build a castle. The most important thing is to open up the roads. Si Xiang said, right now, we're not too far away from the Great Stone Wall, only about 3,000 li. But because of the dense forests and mountains, the roads aren't smooth. Even if we build a castle, people from the outside won't be able to enter. Only by building a road will people from within the Great Stone Wall be able to rush over. You're right. Gu Chunsha agreed deeply. But how are we going to build a road that's a few thousand li long? We'll even have to build a bridge in the middle. Even if I'm a deity, I'm still helpless. No matter, we don't need to build so far. Si Xiang took out a map. This is our current location. This is the location of Heaven-Bearing Pass. In the past month, the Emperor has already ordered the construction of forts, relay stations, and roads outside the pass, advancing for hundreds of li. The people from the Heavenly Designer Institute have also arrived outside the pass, establishing a branch a few hundred li away from Heaven-Bearing Pass. At the same time, the Emperor has also issued a decree for the aristocratic families to come out of the Great Stone Wall and purchase land outside the Great Stone Wall. It's very cheap, and many aristocratic families are fighting to be the first to buy it. Thus, we only need to cut down trees in the forest, and the people and horses will be able to pass through. I'm afraid not. Gu Chunsha shook his head. It won't be easy for the Heavenly Designer Institute to build a road to this place. In such a vast wilderness, there are many roads to be built. Naturally, there will be priorities. I have to make a trip to the border and discuss with the people from the Heavenly Designer Institute. I'll pay them to build the road as soon as possible. Other than that, I'll also need them to build the castle. Your Highness, a large amount of money is needed for the Heavenly Designer Institute to do this. Even the princes have to work according to the price. Shuexiang didn't finish her sentence, but the hidden meaning was obvious. She felt that Gu Chunsha didn't have the money. I have my ways. Gu Chunsha didn't reveal anything. The 1,000 boxes of resources that he stole from the Peach County Celestial Temple were worth at least tens of millions, and they were still rotting in the space of the Sun-Moon altar. He might as well sell them all and exchange them for the construction of his fief. The third prince, Gu Chunsha, actually wanted to get his hands on these resources, but Gu Chunsha beat him to it. For this, he even had the intention to kill Gu Chunsha. Tens of millions was an extremely large sum, and even the aristocratic families wouldn't be able to take out such a sum in one go. Gu Chunsha didn't lack money. As long as he did, he could go to the barbarian race, Celestial Temple, and get some. After dismissing San Xiang, Gu Chunsha went to look for Long Yuyun. At this moment, Long Yuyun was by the lake outside the castle, and she seemed to be conversing with a powerful existence in the lake. Gu Chunsha could vaguely see a long and narrow fish in the depths of the lake. Its aura was extremely strong, and it wasn't any weaker than Yiming's. It seemed like this was the divine beast of Dragonword Island, the Sword Kuan. Swoosh! Activating the great dragon armor, Gu Chunsha flew out of the castle and landed on the edge of the lake. Long Yuyun was taken aback, and the Sword Kuan emerged from the lake, eyeing Gu Chunsha like a tiger watching its prey. The Sword Kuan was shaped like a ribbon fish, but it had a flesh crown on its head and 2 wings. It could fly in the sky, but most of the time, it liked to stay in the water. It was a descendant of an ancient divine beast. You actually stepped into the Tao realm, and your armor actually improved again. It can even block innate astral energy. Long Yuyun let out a roar, and the Sword Kuan sank into the water again. What kind of fortuitous encounter did you have? You don't have to tell me this secret. Gu Chunsha went straight to the point. You should have a caravan in the border customs market, right? I have a batch of goods to sell. How about the price? What goods do you have? Long Yuyun was rather surprised. Koldu and I have long established a trading company at the border customs. If you have good goods, You can greatly increase our reputation. Then don't be in a hurry. Follow me to the border customs. Guchen Shah said, "How many people do you have at the border customs?" "About a few thousand, and they are all reliable." The border customs market is very popular now, and people from all levels of the court are rushing over to make a fortune. The price of land is rising, and the imperial court has made a fortune in this war. This time, we took down this barbarian tribe and also transported some precious medicinal herbs to the border customs to sell. It's very easy to let them go. Long Yun said, "Right now, this has already become your fief, but it is still far away. The border customs is where the population gathers. I think you should invest more in the border customs." Many years ago, I bought a lot of land at the border customs and built shops there. This year, I have made a profit of several tens of times. This Long Yun is indeed very capable. No wonder she can command the millions of soldiers and civilians of Dragon Sword Island. Guchen Shah was secretly shocked. He believed that he could not compare to this woman in terms of internal affairs, business, and economics. This was a shortcoming, but he did not hide it. He would slowly pay attention to learning it in the future. He slowly calculated in his heart, and only after thinking for a while did he say, "What do you plan to do in the future? Are you going to bring the people of Dragon Sword Island to submit to me, or are you going to be half-hearted like the Cold Jade do?" This was a declaration of his position. Guchen Shah knew that his foundation was too shallow, and he could not build it up in a short period of time. If he could truly obtain the power of Dragon Sword Island to submit to him, he would have a stable foundation after digesting them. His influence in the imperial court would also become stronger. Right now, he had no one to do business with, no one to send messages, no one to manage the barbarians, and no one to serve at his mansion. He could be said to be completely broke. Chapter 95. Long Yun could hear the seriousness in his words, and her face turned serious. After thinking for a while, she said, "If it's just me, it doesn't matter. But my subordinates and my family have so many people. If they fail to surrender and fall into the tiger's mouth, they will die without a burial place. The bloodline of the entire Dragon Sword Island will be severed." Back then, I was prepared to surrender to the first prince, but I was deceived, causing us to suffer heavy losses. Now our country is destroyed. If you can save my younger brother and sister and my parents from the first prince, I will swear to the sea god that I will be completely loyal to you. The entire Dragon Sword Island will submit to you without any hesitation. So that's how it is. Guchen Shah was slightly happy. Big Brother is a traitor, killing people to refine his blood, and has become a demon. If you want to kill him for revenge, I won't stop you. But he is my brother after all, and I won't kill him. As for saving your younger brother, sister, and parents, this is my responsibility. Don't worry, as long as they are still alive, I have the confidence to save them. You are so confident? Long Yun was doubtful. Of course, Guchen Shah was confident. He could steal countless riches from the demonic ape temple, but saving a few people from Big Brother Guhong Shah was nothing. When the time came, he would knock out the rescued people, put them in the Sun-Moon altar, and wake them up when he came out. No matter how strong Big Brother Guhong Shah's mansion was, it couldn't be compared to the demonic ape temple of chaos. Moreover, the ring of the great spirit god left by his mother was still in the hands of the first prince. If there was a chance, he would take it back. When this is done, I will go save your family. Guchen Shah said, "At least a few months, at most half a year. I guarantee that they will appear in front of you safe and sound." That's an extremely difficult task. There are countless powerful experts in the eldest prince's estate, so there's no way we'll be able to save him unless you ask the emperor for a decree, but I'm sure the emperor won't care about that. Long Yun still didn't believe him. Of course the emperor won't care about this. Besides, I have no proof, and I can't attack the court as I please. People will think it's malicious. Guchen Shah had long understood the internal strife of the imperial court. This matter could only be done in secret and could not be brought to the surface. "Then what do you have?" Long Yun asked, a little uneasy. This was her biggest worry. "What do you think this is?" Sha took out a golden bottle and opened it. The 7 sage heart tempering pill was soaked in spiritual liquid. This is, looking at the 7-colored pill, Long Yun thought for a long time, this is the ancient 7 sages heart refining pill. Where did you get it from? Did you really think that I didn't have a thorough plan when I brought my troops to the vicinity of the demonic ape temple? You have no confidence? Sha said deliberately. He knew that if he wanted Long Yun to have hope, she would side with him. I stole this 7 saints heart refining pill from the demonic ape temple of confusion. Who do you think is more dangerous? The demonic ape temple of confusion or Boss Mansion? What? Long Yun's eyes opened wide. No wonder I heard news that the chaotic demon ape god temple was robbed. You were the one who did it. This is a top secret and you can't spread it out. Sha said. Otherwise, there will be endless problems. I know. Long Yun was suddenly pumped up. As expected, I didn't misjudge you. Although the Crown Prince has many experts, compared to the chaotic demon ape god temple, they aren't worth mentioning at all. You were actually able to steal treasures from there. So, saving my family will be as easy as flipping your hand. Do you have extra 7 Saint Heart pills? I can give this to you. Sha pushed it over. Really? Long Yun didn't dare to believe it and didn't take it. Do you know how much this pill is worth? Even Dao Realm 9 Transformation Realm experts with the glass jade body would fight to snatch it. Using it is the same as listening to the ancient 7 saints talk about the Dao. In my eyes, talent is priceless. Sha changed the topic. No one uses it and turns it into combat strength to change heaven and earth to protect the Dao. This pill is no different from a stone. Even a horse needs someone to recognize it. You are an amazing person and will shine brightly in the future. At this moment, Long Yun also began to admit certain things. I'll accept it. Don't worry. I'll do my best in all matters regarding your fief. Currently, Isidu is wavering and placing bets everywhere, but there's nothing she can do about it. There are some things that she can't decide. I understand all that. Sha understood that Jianghu existed everywhere. There were factions fighting in the imperial court, and the Baoyu nation might have even more intense fights. But sometimes, only by having a firm belief can we overcome difficulties. If we waver, we will end up with nothing. I will talk to Koldu in detail. After all, it seems like you are the reliable one. Long Yun expressed her opinion. That's good. Let's go. Your dragon bone sword should have the ability to fly, right? Sha asked. Indeed, but the dragon bone sword won't be able to carry me for too long, at most 100 miles. Once the spiritual chi within it is exhausted, it will fall into a deep slumber unless it is soaked in spirit liquid or placed in a spirit gathering formation to recover. The dragon bone sword is used to kill enemies, and I can't use it to fly. Long Yun shook her head. Do you know how expensive spiritual liquid is? 1 drop can be sold for thousands or even tens of thousands. Although the dragon bone sword had turned into a bone dragon, the spiritual energy within could only be used to attack for a short period of time. Moreover, the sword couldn't absorb spiritual energy by itself and had to be nourished in a spirit gathering formation or drip spiritual liquid in. Normally speaking, after the dragon bone sword was used up, it would need to be placed in a spirit gathering formation for 49 days to recover. Of course, that depended on the strength of the spirit gathering formation. If it was a strong spirit gathering formation, then it wouldn't take so long. But drip spiritual liquid on it, and it could be used immediately. From his point of view, the 5 swords of Lu Yu and the other 4 were real divine weapons that could absorb and release spiritual energy by themselves. Such treasures had basically surpassed the category of treasures. Even the current great dragon armor couldn't absorb and release spiritual energy by itself. In fact, 99% of immortal treasures were like this. The horn dragon armor was different from this. It could only be activated by absorbing sunlight. However, there was a drawback, which was that it would slowly get damaged. Immortal treasures couldn't absorb spiritual energy. Not only would they not get damaged, but they would also advance. The first thing Gu Chansha did this time was to build a large spirit gathering formation in his fief so that the horned dragon armor wouldn't get damaged. You took my heavenly dragon spirit gathering banner, and you've accumulated quite a bit of spirit elixir over the past few days. Why are you complaining about being poor? Gu Qinsha pointed out Long Yuyun's little trick. It's time for you to return the heavenly dragon spirit gathering banner to me. Of course. Actually, I have a big family business. No matter how much money I have, it won't be enough for me to spend. I will use the spiritual liquid to build your fief. Long Yuyun was very obedient. She was afraid that Gu Qinsha would change his mind and not save her family. Actually, if I take out the 7 Sacred Heart refinement pill you gave me, it will be enough for the Liu clan to build a city. I won't invite the Liu clan. Gu Qinsha said, although the Liu clan has been great craftsmen for generations, they're still a little lacking compared to the Imperial Court's Celestial Designer Institution. I plan to find the people with power in the Celestial Designer Institution and hire them to build my fief. That's not a bad idea. If you are willing to give up this 7 Sacred Heart refinement pill, the big shots of the Celestial Designer Institution will come immediately. Long Yuyun nodded repeatedly. Since that's the case, let's go. Gu Qinsha grabbed Long Yuyun, and the great dragon armor on his body started to crackle. It suddenly extended and wrapped Long Yuyun up. He then turned invisible and flew into the sky. How much sky dew did you use to upgrade your armor? It actually reached such a stage. Long Yuyun was wrapped in the armor, but she was able to breathe smoothly. She looked at the white clouds below and the mountains and rivers getting further and further away. She couldn't help but be shocked. Even if I fly at full speed, I can't reach such speed and height. Also, this kind of flight consumes a lot of spiritual energy. Is there enough spiritual energy in the armor? This was the first time Gu Chansha used the great dragon armor to fly at full speed. It was actually faster than a hawk, and even a Dao Realm Transformation 7 expert wouldn't be able to catch up to him. It would be extremely easy for him to escape. He also sensed that after swallowing large amounts of dragon transformation liquid, the great dragon armor had undergone changes that he couldn't understand. But his mind was connected to the great dragon armor, and he could sense that flying at such a high speed would consume spiritual energy quickly. In just a few hundred breaths, he would fall down and lose his ability to protect himself. He would smash into a meat patty. Without the support of spiritual energy, the great dragon armor would lose all its uses and it would become a dead object. It would be no different from a rock. At the same time, he sensed that the fastest speed of the great dragon armor was 3 to 4 times that of a hawk. If he wanted to be faster, he would have to evolve it. He flipped his palm and a spirit crystal appeared. It was the size of a bean and was really heavy. After he took it out, the great dragon armor wriggled and wrapped it up. It was like it was swallowing something and slowly digesting it. After swallowing it, the great dragon armor was instantly replenished by spiritual energy. It was as if it had eaten some powerful medicine. This spirit crystal was the size of a bean, but after it melted, it would be able to turn into a large vat of spiritual liquid. How much could it turn into? The great dragon armor wrapped it up and slowly digested it. It was enough to last for a long period of time. Spirit crystal. Long Yuyun was shocked again. What kind of good stuff do you have on you? You even have a spirit crystal. It seems like you really obtained a lot of good stuff from the demonic ape temple. Can you tell me more? You will know in the future. Gu Qinsha was being mysterious. With the support of this spirit crystal, the great dragon armor could fly for 10 days and 10 nights without a problem. Moreover, he had obtained a gourd of spirit crystals, which contained a total of 15 of them. After flying for less than 2 hours, they could see the majestic Great Wall in the distance. As expected, outside the Great Wall, there was construction everywhere. Fortress after fortress rose from the ground, and orderly roads extended into the wilderness like a spider web. Large amounts of wood were being cut down to form manors. Chapter 96. Meanwhile, Long Yun had bought dozens of manors along the Great Stone Wall, and it was difficult to estimate the value of those manors. Back when he had built the Great Wall of Stone, none of the aristocratic families had been optimistic about it. They felt that he was too ambitious and that he would definitely make life difficult for the people. They had not expected that he would actually use his own strength to suppress the many evil gods of the wilderness and miraculously build the Great Wall of Stone. Long Yun's eyes had already surpassed those of the aristocratic families. The price of land here is even higher than the capital. Gu Chensha sized up the manor and discovered that the servants and maidservants in the manor were all skilled in martial arts. They took care of everything in an orderly manner. There were even barbarian slaves in shackles working in the manor. Of course, although the wilderness is dangerous, there are treasures everywhere. There are more business opportunities here than in the capital. Who doesn't want to buy land and start a business here? Even if it's a small shop, the monthly income would be a considerable amount. Long Yun smiled. There are more and more people here. They are all adventuring in the wilderness. They sell food, medicine, weapons, armor, and bows. The sales are huge. They make a lot of money. It is indeed getting more and more popular. Gu Qinsha nodded. This time, he had marched in the savage forest for a month, and he already knew that the forest was filled with treasures. As long as he could survive, he would be able to strike it rich. Who knew how many people would be attracted to this place? Take my Prefecture King's Command Medallion and go to the branch of the Celestial Craft Institute here. Invite their managers here to discuss business. Don't you have goods to sell? Where? Long Yun asked. Naturally, there will be goods. Gu Chunsha passed the regional king's token to her and told her to go quickly. After Long Yun left, he found a large hall and dismissed everyone. Then he took out the 1,000 chests he had obtained from the Peach County Celestial Temple from the altar of sun and moon. He wasn't afraid that Long Yun's men would peek. After he reached the Tao realm, no peeping could escape his eyes. Only after reaching the Tao realm did he understand the wonders of the sun-moon refinement and sun-moon transformations. He activated the sun-moon refinement, and immediately spiritual energy poured down, fusing into his blood. Now, his blood had already become radiant with the light of the sun and moon, as though it was about to transform. Furthermore, his blood was a very miraculous thing. Its effects were only slightly inferior to the heavenly dew, surpassing that of the spirit liquid. According to the ancient records, when a person who cultivated the son of heaven's god bestowment art to a certain degree, their blood would turn into the sun-moon dragon blood, which was one of the best spirit medicines in the world. Although Gu Chansha had not reached small success, he had the characteristics of the sun and moon dragon blood. Therefore, when he refined the magic treasure, it would strengthen the magic treasure significantly. 1,000 boxes were placed in the hall. When he opened them, he discovered that there was indeed a large number of blood-strengthening pills and tyrant blood pills. There is also a high-grade Herculean bull leather armor. This armor was very light and could cover the entire body. Blades and swords couldn't break it. Its effect was comparable to the battle python armor, but it couldn't compare to the horned dragon armor. Apart from that, the most precious items were bricks. These bricks were blood-red in color, and the faint roars of ferocious beasts could be heard. This is a beast's soul stone. Gu Qinsha was a little shocked. The so-called beast soul stone was made by using a special secret method to use god power to seal the beast's soul in a high-quality jade stone. This stone's spiritual waves were very strong. It was much better to use it to set up a spirit-gathering formation than jade stones. After reaching Tao Realm, he had a deep understanding of the spirit-gathering formation. The formation he set up was even more exquisite. If he had these beast soul stones, then the spirit-gathering formation he set up would have dense spiritual energy that ordinary formations couldn't compare to. Using the beast soul stones to set up a spirit-gathering formation would be 10 times more effective than using top-grade jade stones. There were a total of 500 boxes, and they were all filled with such beast soul stones. Each box had about 30 pieces. He took out 99 pieces and set up the spirit-gathering formation in the hall. According to the 5 elements, yin-yang, and 8 trigrams. He carefully felt the spiritual waves of the beast's soul stones. With a slight shift, the magnetic field of the beast's soul stones would condense into a point. The air in the center would explode, and the formation would move without any wind. Waves of spiritual energy would leak out. They were extremely strong, and there was even a smell of mist. At this moment, if he stuck a heavenly dragon spirit gathering flag in it, it would immediately turn into large amounts of spirit liquid. I definitely can't sell these beast soul stones. Clipchamp immediately made up his mind. This stone is definitely a treasure of the barbarian race. They actually sent 500 boxes over. They were trying to establish a foundation in Peach County. The beast soul stones were shaped like bricks, and they could be used to build all sorts of buildings. There were a total of 1,500 beast soul stones here. If they were set up into a formation, with the glass jade body skeleton and the egg stone as the core, it would probably be able to strengthen the horned dragon armor. He repeatedly played around with the beast soul stones and set up all sorts of spirit-gathering formations to increase his understanding of spiritual energy, space-time, mental energy, heaven and earth, and physical properties. After consuming the 7 Saint Heart cultivation pill, his intelligence increased and his thinking became more agile. His method of setting up spirit-gathering formations became more exquisite, and he could turn something rotten into something magical. In the Sun of Heaven sealing God Art's sun and moon refining technique, there were also formations. Other than that, the Great Spirit God technique, Maha Suppression Scripture, and Chaotic World Demon Book also had formations. He comprehended all the formations and mastered them thoroughly. In the future, when he cultivated his every move, and every move would be in harmony with the heavenly Tao, and his breathing rhythm would be in perfect harmony with the surroundings. Gradually, his martial arts improved by a lot. After an unknown number of hours had passed, Long Yuyun returned with a man in tow. This person wore a white robe and had his chest puffed out. His shoulders were broad, and there seemed to be dragons and elephants circling around him. He looked like he could send mountains flying, and one could feel the boundless power coming from him without looking. Xiangshan Masao greets Monarch Chun. The man cupped his hands. There was a small golden dragon embroidered on his white robe, and his status seemed to be on the same level as Clipchamp. Xiangshan's sect master. Clipchamp didn't dare to be negligent. This person was no small matter. The dragon embroidered on his white robe meant that he was a dragon craftsman, and his status was comparable to that of a prince. He didn't even need to greet a prince. There was a hierarchy in the Celestial Designer Institute, and it was a system independent of the imperial court. It reported directly to the emperor, and it was divided into craftsmen, master craftsmen, spirit craftsmen, dragon craftsmen, immortal craftsmen, and god craftsmen. The status of a dragon craftsman was extremely high, and they were once famous tyrants. They were all subdued by the Heavenly Talisman Emperor and worked for him wholeheartedly. This Xiangshan Masao was the sect master of the overseas Xiangshan sect. The Xiangshan sect was famous for its mechanical arts, and it occupied a large island with a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles. It was ruled by tens of millions of people, and it was either a country or a sect. Before the Heavenly Talisman Emperor was the emperor, this sect had already been silently supporting him. It could be said that they had worked hard and contributed greatly to the emperor. Furthermore, this Xiangshan Masao's aura was even more terrifying than Yiming's, and he was also an expert. He was the person in charge of the Celestial Designer Institute's branch in Sky Bearing Pass, and held great authority in the institute. This person's status wasn't below that of Marquis Dashi. Today, he came personally to give face. Long Yun looked at the boxes, pills, leather armors, and beast soul stones in the room, and was once again shocked. She hurriedly summoned her trusted aide, and that aide was also at a loss. There was obviously no one transporting anything in, but there was actually a room full of goods. Beast soul stones, good stuff. Xiangshan Masao's eyes lit up, and he could also tell that these were treasures. Your Highness, It seems like you have obtained quite a lot of goods from the expedition against the barbarians. The blood-strengthening pills and blood tyrant pills are still acceptable, and their effects aren't even as good as our pay-you-on pills and vitality enhancement pills. How about you name a price for these beast soul stones, and our Celestial Designer Institute will take them all. The blood-strengthening pills and blood tyrant pills were nothing in the eyes of the Celestial Designer Institute, but they were in short supply among the commoners. As long as the news spread out, countless rich and powerful families would come begging for them. It was the same for the Herculean bull armor. If Lord Xiangshan has the beast's soul stones, will you sell them? Gu Qinsha laughed. Your Highness, I heard from your subordinates that you have come to discuss a big deal with me this time. Xiangshan Masao's expression was businesslike. Your Highness, you also know the rules of the Celestial Designer Institute. Unless the Emperor personally issues an edict, all nobles and princes are to bid openly. I know that. Gu Qinsha took out a map. I have conquered the barbarian tribe, and it is right here. Now I want the Celestial Designer Institute to build a road to that place, and then help me build a fief castle. In addition, I want to buy some things from the Celestial Designer Institute. Build a road. Xiangshan Masao looked at the map. This road is thousands of miles long. If it is built for 3 to 5 years, it won't cost much. 3 to 5 years? That won't do. Gu Qinsha shook his head. I know that the Celestial Designer Institute has a way to build a road quickly. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to build the Great Stone Wall of more than 100,000 miles in just a few years. The Great Stone Wall was like a mountain, and people standing in front of it were like ants. Even building 1 mile was much more difficult than building a road for thousands of miles, let alone 100,000 miles. We do have a way to build a road quickly, but it costs a lot. Let's see what price your Highness is willing to pay. The width of the road and the size of the city all have different prices. We have to give your Highness the blueprints. In addition, now that the Emperor has ordered the construction outside the pass, we have to pay a higher price if we want to transfer manpower. Xiangshan Masao was still looking at the beast's soul stones, but he didn't speak. He looked at Gu Qinsha's hand. There was a golden bottle in his hand. When the bottle was opened, there was a pill shining with colorful light. 7 Sacred Refinement Pill. The light in Xiangshan Masao's eyes became more intense. Yes, this is the pill. Lord Xiangshan has a keen eye. Gu Qinsha nodded. I wonder how much this pill is worth. Is it enough to build a road and a castle? As far as I know, this pill can't be bought even with money. Chapter 97. Because of this, the experts of the Celestial Designer Institute could refine treasures, make tools, set up formations, and study all kinds of new and strange gadgets all the time. Back then, the 10th Prince Gu Qinsha wanted the imperial court to allocate 1,000 sets of horned dragon armor, and even the 7th Prince Gu Fascia could do nothing about it. They could only pull each other back and forth. In the end, Gu Qinsha had no choice but to purchase a few hundred sets from the Celestial Designer Institute. The other princes did the same. If they wanted good stuff, they had to buy it with money. This was the rule set by the Celestial Talisman Emperor. But as long as you had good stuff, the efficiency of the Celestial Designer Institute was amazing. Gu Qinsha took out the 7 Sage Heart Refinement Pill, and Masao Xiangshan immediately left to prepare the blueprints. He couldn't wait any longer. Seeing Masao Xiangshan leave, Long Yin looked at the treasures in the room. Did you get these from the demonic ape temple? Apart from the beast soul stones, the demonic ape temple probably doesn't have blood-strengthening pellets and blood tyrant pellets, as well as Herculean bull leather armor. These are rare treasures in the eyes of the nobles, but they are common in the temple. I used your sea-splitting bead to break into the Peach County Temple. Now sell the blood-strengthening pellets, blood tyrant pellets, and Herculean bull leather armor. I'm not very familiar with the business, so I need time to learn. How much do you think these are worth? Gu Qinsha put away the beast's soul stones. The blood-strengthening pellets and blood tyrant pellets are in short supply in the market. You can sell them for a high price if you have so many of them. Including the leather armor, it's about 13 million. If you want to sell the beast soul stones, the price will be higher, at least 80 to 90 million. Long Yuyun was good at business and calculated the price accurately. I won't sell the beast soul stones. Gu Qinsha waved his hand. I'll sell everything else. That's true. Your skill in setting up the spirit gathering formation is far better than mine. With the beast soul stones and the heavenly dragon energy gathering flag, you can produce a lot of spirit liquid every day. That's wealth. Long Yuyun said, other big families can't turn the formation into spirit liquid without this flag. But I suggest you don't sell them, because you'll definitely need to recruit soldiers in the future. These are also resource reserves. As the war with the barbarians continues, the weapons, armor, and elixirs will become more and more expensive. After selling the blood-strengthening pellets and blood tyrant pellets, I'm going to buy them from the palace sect. That's because these two are the purest medicine. At the same time, we need to buy a batch of battle technique wine and horn dragon armor. We need to get rid of the barbarian tribe's things and focus on the path of elite soldiers. The Heavenly Craftsman Institute's products were all high quality, so Gu Qinsha naturally had to get rid of the inferior ones and buy the high-quality ones. 10 warriors wearing Herculean bull leather armor could not defeat one warrior wearing horn dragon armor. All right, I'll do it right away. In addition, if you want to build a spirit gathering formation in the mansion, you can get some jade stones from the cold dew. With the help of jade stones, the power of the spirit gathering formation will be even greater. Long Yuyun suggested. I'm waiting. Gu Qinsha had a card up his sleeve. If the frost jade dew expresses her stance and stands on my side, with her intelligence, she will know that I want to build a mansion and will give me the jade stones. If she doesn't express her stance, then she is only using me. Of course, I wouldn't accept the jade she gave me for free. I would definitely give her an even more generous gift. All I want is an attitude. Looks like you're more thoughtful than I am. Long Yuyun didn't expect Gu Qinsha to be so scheming. Actually, you're not bad with the cold dew. How many people would be willing to give it to Heaven Dew? Benevolent people don't use tactics, but it's understandable that they are forced by the situation, Gu Qinsha said. Only a few hours later, in the evening, Masao Kageyama came again. This time, he brought dozens of drawings and discussed with Gu Qinsha in detail in the room. Your Highness, the layout of this mansion is called Green Dragon and White Tiger. The lake is the basin for gathering treasures, and the watchtower is built in the middle of the mountain to suppress the feng shui and earth veins. When it's built, your entire fief castle will be like a tiger crouching and a dragon coiling around to gather treasures. The products in the fief will be harvested every year, and the livestock will flourish. Coupled with the deterrence of the dragon and tiger chi, pests and insects will not dare to invade the fief. Masao Elephanta went on to explain. Also, this layout is called 100 Saints Facing Truth, which is different from the ones above. Holy elephants will be built on the mountains on all 4 sides, facing the center, and in the fief, there will be academies, arsenals, and civil and military affairs in the fief, all of which are interlinked. In this way, the entire fief will be filled with a scholarly atmosphere, and everyone will be intelligent and refined. It can even eliminate the hostility of the barbarian slaves, turning it into a peaceful place. There will be no thieves or criminals in the fief. The only drawback is that the holy elephants are too tall and too ostentatious, and it will easily attract the barbarian masters to come and destroy it. The maintenance cost is extremely high, and the defensive ability is also a little weak. Also, this feng shui layout is called Black Tortoise Goes to Sea. The black tortoise is an ancient divine beast. Masao Xiangshan was eloquent, introducing them with great care. Gu Qinsha was also slowly watching and learning. He felt as if his horizons had been broadened. Every blueprint had its own ingenuity. He had a complete grasp of the mountains, rivers, veins, and even every blade of grass and tree. He could change the world at will. As he learned, he was enlightened again, and his cultivation improved. He even had an urge to go to the Heavenly Designer Institute to study. The various knowledge that the Heavenly Designer Institute had grasped made him feel like a barbarian who had not accepted civilization at all. He was too ignorant, and he had to study more. He talked until midnight and memorized dozens of blueprints. His understanding of formations deepened once again. I'll choose this black tortoise emerging from a sea pattern to build my fief. The most important thing now is to strengthen the defense and counterattack. The barbarians won't let me develop easily. I agree, Masao Xiangshan said, but this pattern requires a lot of cannons. With the castle as the center, we need to build cannons on the surrounding mountains. We also need to build bridges to connect the mountains and castles. It will cost a lot. Also, we will make the lake's transformation and all kinds of foundation construction perfect. 7 Sacred Heart cultivation pills. Gu Chansha interrupted Masao Xiangshan's words. In addition, I want the Horn Dragon Armor, 1,000 Fighting Techniques Wine, 1,000 Fire Talisman Spears, 30,000 Fire Talisman Bullets, 5,000 Elemental Energy Pills, 3,000 Elemental Energy Pills, 1,000 Elemental Energy Pills, and 10 sets of Mother and Child Universe boxes. In addition, I want a lot of ancient secret books about rituals, sacrifices, the actions of the ancient emperors, and formation layouts. Deal. Masao Xiangshan did not bargain. He was afraid that Gu Qinsha would go back on his word, so he immediately agreed. Originally, Gu Qinsha thought that he had asked for too much and was prepared to compromise if the other party bargained. He did not expect the other party to agree immediately, and he immediately felt that he might have suffered a great loss. But he was also a man of his word. He could not go back on his word. He could only laugh at himself and think that he should let Long Yuyun handle the next negotiation. Please keep the matter of the 7 Sacred Heart cultivation pills a secret, Gu Qinsha warned. Don't worry, Your Highness. This is a trade secret. Our Heavenly Craftsman Institute has rules. If it is leaked, you will be stripped of your title and sent to do research in a dark cage. You will never be free again until you have performed meritorious service, Masao Xiangshan said seriously. Well, that's settled. When will we start? Gu Qinsha asked. We can start tonight, Masao Xiangshan said. Your fief can be completed in about 3 days, and the road will be paved in 10 days. This is the fastest speed that the Heavenly Craftsman Institute can achieve. What do you think, Your Highness? 3 days? Gu Qinsha stood up abruptly. Why? Do you think it's too slow, Your Highness? Masao Xiangshan asked. No, it's not. Gu Qinsha waved his hands. It's too fast. Such a big project. No matter how fast it is, I estimate that it will take 3 to 5 months or a year. How can it be finished in 3 days? What's wrong with that? Masao Xiangshan laughed involuntarily. I have received the approval from the higher-ups. They attach great importance to this. We can use the decree to activate the vigorous Heavenly Craftsman demon. Now, Your Highness can go back and make all the preparations. Vigorous Heavenly Craftsman demon. Gu Qinsha was a little excited. He remembered that when the canal was being built, many mountains blocking the road disappeared inexplicably. It was not something that could be done by human beings. Now that his fief could enjoy this kind of treatment, he wanted to take a good look. In that case, I'll go back now. Well, this is the contract. Your Highness, please sign on it and pay half of the deposit. When the project is completed, you will pay the other half. This is the rule. When the time comes, you will have to report to the Emperor. Masao Xiangshan took out the contract. Okay. After signing the contract, Gu Qinsha said goodbye to Long Yuyun and took away the Beast Soul Stone. He gave the rest to Long Yuyun to sell. In addition, he also gave the weapons he got from killing several old demons, such as the Blood Shadow Whip of the Blood Soul Hierarch, which would suck the blood of people. He also gave the Sky Halberd and the golden leather armor left by the barbarian tribe marshal to Long Yuyun. These were useless to him, so it was better to exchange them for practical things such as the Horn Dragon armor. After settling everything, he returned to his fief that night, which was thousands of miles away. He also wrote a memorial to the imperial court about the attack on the barbarian tribe. Chapter 98. However, the barbarians were extremely strong. The main reason was not because they were familiar with the environment, but because of their sacrifices. Even children would hunt and sacrifice to the evil gods. Although the evil gods would not respond after absorbing the souls of the sacrificial offerings, as long as there were enough times, tens or even hundreds of times, there would be a few times where the evil gods would send down their energy. With the evil gods' energy in their bodies, there was no need to fear diseases or miasma. This resulted in the barbarians being bloodthirsty regardless of their age or gender. In the Great Yonko, because the Heavenly Talisman Emperor abolished the sacrificial offerings to confer the gods, blood sacrifices were strictly forbidden. Gradually, the mindset of the people changed and the country became more civilized. In theory, Gu Chinch's killing of tigers and wolves as sacrifices was in line with the ancient ways of the Heavenly Sons, but it was also against the laws of the Great Yonko. If someone caught him, it would be a huge crime. This showed that the Heavenly Talisman Emperor's ideology was different from the ancient Heavenly Sons. The ancient Heavenly Sons not only slaughtered beasts, but also slaughtered large numbers of slaves as sacrifices to the heavens. Some of the slaves were enemy soldiers who had surrendered, while others were commoners who had committed crimes. Since ancient times, the ancient Heavenly Sons' actions, sacrifices, and wars were all praised in the history books. However, the Heavenly Talisman Emperor's Heavenly Talisman Cultivation ceremony rebuked these actions. As for who was right and who was wrong, Gu Chunsha found it hard to comprehend. Gu Chunsha flew one round around his fief before descending back into the castle. He took out the newly revised Heavenly Talisman Cultivation ceremony and read it carefully. From it, he could understand some of the Heavenly Talisman Emperor's thoughts and ideology. I wonder how the Heavenly Designer Institute is going to build this castle in 3 days. Also, the people from the Frosty Jadu are also in my fief. I hope they don't cause any trouble. He was multitasking, reading, practicing martial arts, and thinking about the construction of his fief. Everything was in order, without the slightest bit of chaos. Beneath the forest, beside the lake, there were many tall wooden houses that were dozens of feet above the ground. These wooden houses were newly built, and there were more than 1,000 of them. Each house occupied half a mu of land and surrounded the lake. It was a spectacular sight. These were the residences of the Baoyu Kingdom. This time, the Baoyu Nation had sent a lot of people, and they were all experts. Even the lowest level among them was a martial arts master, which was why they were able to conquer this place so quickly. Bang! In the largest parliament hall, the table was smashed into pieces. What? Han Lu, you actually want to gift so many jades to that brat? No, absolutely not. I firmly oppose it. This brat cut off my finger, but I didn't take revenge on him. I still have the bigger picture in mind. In short, absolutely not. The angry one was Yu Ba. The fact that his finger was sliced off by Gu Chansha was a great humiliation to him. However, he had always endured it. Firstly, he was wary of the Great Yonko court. If he really caused trouble, the Heavenly Talisman Emperor would be enraged and the Jewel Jade Nation would be reduced to dust. Secondly, there were experts by Gu Chinch's side. Even if he wanted to take revenge, it would only be a new grudge. Thirdly, the Cold Jade did her best to dissuade him, allowing him to retain some face. Imperial Uncle, we have already broken our promise to the 19th Highness. His strategy was to send us to the vicinity of the chaotic, demonic ape temple to engage in guerrilla warfare, nibbling away at the experts there. I feel that he definitely has some trump cards up his sleeves. Initially, I wanted to accompany him, but all of you opposed it. Fortunately, I planned to give this tribe to him as a gift, resolving this grudge. However, Imperial Uncle, you attacked him in front of everyone. That's a huge taboo. He has an esteemed status and is the son of the Heavenly Talisman Emperor. If you defeat him, he will definitely lose face. But what about the Imperial Court? You are slapping the Heavenly Talisman Emperor's face. Not to mention you, even the various countries in the outer seas wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. I know that Imperial Uncle has received benefits from the 10th Highness. That's right, the 10th Highness is stronger than the 19th Highness. However, The 19th Highness is obviously favored by the imperial court. The matter of recruiting the Bayou Kingdom was also done by him. If you offend him, we will be the ones to suffer in the future. Cold Jade stood up and spoke with reason. I need to repair our relationship now. Also, yesterday, Long Yun sent me a message saying that the Dragonword Island has decided to support the 19th Highness. Uncles, what do you all think? There were dozens of people present, and they were all members of the Bayou Country royal family. There were direct descendants and many experts. I think that Cold Jade's words make sense. Based on the intel, the 19th Highness is a fool. He has been a fool for 14 years, and who knew that he would shock the world? He killed a Dao realm old demon, killed a barbarian race general, and now he even has a Dao realm transformation 7 Highness as a servant. How shocking. An old man supported Cold Jade. Yuba, you had a fortuitous encounter when you were young and married the maid of Heart Fox King, one of the 72 caves under 10,000 dragon nest. You obtained a thread of 10,000 dragon true chi, which allowed you to have your current achievements. You have cultivated to Dao realm 6 transformations and are able to do as you please in the royal family. Will you call others master? Right. Someone at Dao Realm Transformation 7 is already a top expert. He definitely won't be a servant. Even if he entered the Heavenly Craftsman Institute, he could barely be a dragon craftsman. Another royal family member supported Cold Jade. I think that the 19th Highness definitely has a strong expert supporting him. I object. Another royal family member said, Heaven Talisman Emperor fought the barbarian race, and all the princes contributed so much. Only the 19th prince couldn't even take down a single tribe. We had to give it to him. What is the point of that? If he was strong, would that be the case? Maybe he is someone else's chess piece. There are so many strong princes, so why should we follow him? A few days ago, I received an invitation from the 7th prince's side, and they offered me many satisfactory conditions. I think we could try to come into contact with him. After all, he is really strong, and his family is the top aristocratic family in the past 1,000 years. The 7th prince is strong, and because of that, if we join him, we won't get any benefits. Cold Jade retorted. Did Heaven Talisman Emperor have high hopes for him? What happened in the end? Anyway, I won't join him. Yuba gave out a sharp laugh. So what if he is Heaven Talisman Emperor? If he destroys my Bayou country, I will bring people to join Heart Fox King. Royal Uncle, do you think that after offending Heaven Talisman Emperor, Heart Fox King will accept you? It's useless even if you hide in the legendary sacred ground of the demon race, the nest of myriad dragons. I've only heard rumors that the Lord of the Nest of Myriad Dragons, the King of Myriad Demons, Li Wanlong, almost died in the hands of the Heavenly Talisman Emperor. Cold Jade continued. Everything under the sky belongs to the king. If Heaven Talisman Emperor can seal the barbarian evil gods, he will truly sweep through the world, and no one will be able to resist him. Heaven Talisman Emperor is Heaven Talisman Emperor. This brat is this brat. There are so many strong princes, but they chose to join the weakest one. I will definitely not allow it. Yuba's voice grew louder and louder. In short, if you want to give him a jade stone, I will definitely oppose it. Also, unless he apologizes to this prince and gives me a generous gift, I will not bother with him. Otherwise, there will be a day when I will make him beg for death. Unable to do so. 1,000 sets of horn dragon armor. No, 3,000 sets. I can reluctantly accept this as compensation. Just as he finished speaking, crackle. Suddenly, a loud sound came from outside, causing the mountains to shake. What happened? Everyone jumped out of the houses. Instantly, they saw an inconceivable scene. Countless tall shadows appeared in the forest. These shadows had form, but no substance like ghosts and gods. But under their control, the trees in the surrounding forest flew up, the soil was cut open, and countless boulders fell from the sky, smashing deep into the ground. In an instant, many mountains were transformed. Soon after, the castle in the middle, which was originally made of wood and stone, was emptied in an instant. Ghostly shadows came and went, and the huge castle was carried into the distant forest by those ghostly shadows, filling up some ravines. The mountain leading to the outside also split open, causing the earth to tremble. Many people panicked, especially the barbarian slaves who screamed. Everyone, don't be afraid. At this moment, Gu Chansha flew into the sky, letting out a thunderous roar. This is the territory I hired the Heavenly Designer Institution to create. Everyone come out and stand on the empty ground. At that moment, another voice was even louder than his. Heavenly Designer Institution is using the Heavenly Designer ghosts and gods to build it. Don't panic and don't move around. Just stand on the empty ground. This was Masao Xiangshan. He held a flag in his hand, and there were dragon-like runes on it. He also held an edict which gave off an aura that could control ghosts and gods. Gu Qinsha didn't expect the Heavenly Designer Institute to come so quickly, acting in the middle of the night. He immediately gathered his subordinates and gathered everyone on the square beside the lake, including the barbarian slaves. Originally, the barbarian slaves would have tried to escape and kill the guards, but there were many black shadows and numerous ghosts and gods moved them like goods, placing them in a safe area. The barbarian slaves didn't dare to move at all. Even the soldiers in the castle were moved by the ghosts and gods. Even the experts of Baoyu Nation were dumbfounded by such a scene. Yiming had been instructed by Gu Chansha to hide and watch from afar. He was filled with respect for the Heavenly Designer Institute's methods. To be able to enslave ghosts and gods like that, they had to be above Dao Realm Transformation 20. Those are people from Baoyu country? A look of disdain appeared on Masao Xiangshan's face. Your Highness has accepted the Emperor's orders to recruit them, but you have to be careful that they are fickle and can't be trusted. The people of Baoyu country are simple and honest, but these royal family members only care about benefits. They have raised conditions several times. If not for the Emperor taking pity on the people and feeling that they are innocent, he would have sent troops to wipe them out. Thank you for the reminder. Although they are capricious, they are not evil people. The world is bustling, and everyone comes for benefits. The world is bustling, and everyone goes there for benefits. This is human nature. Gu Chinch's heart was clear, and he had an idea. Chapter 99. The entire castle covered an area of nearly 10,000 acres, resembling a giant tortoise crouching by the lake. The entire lake had been remodeled, its surface area expanding once again. Countless silt had been cleared, and the deepest part of the lake was connected to an underground river. Flowing water surged, and dozens of fountains spewed out of the ground, creating a strange scene on the surface of the lake. Huge bridges were built on the surrounding mountains, leading directly to the castle. Huge turrets were also built on the mountains, allowing them to observe the surroundings and sound the alarm if there was any movement. Gu Qinsha was dazzled by the sight. Markets and streets had been built around the castle. The streets were very wide, and there were even sewers for sewage to flow underground. There were also public baths and garbage disposal areas. All kinds of facilities were available. The houses around the market were also tall and spacious, and they were raised to avoid the humidity of the wilderness. This was the true layout of a large city, a pearl in the wilderness. Especially the giant tortoise-like castle, with many turrets that attacked like snakes, full of ferocity. This kind of castle mansion was the first in the capital. Even the seventh prince, Gafas's mansion, didn't have this kind of mysteriousness. Of course, this was also because the land in the wilderness was vast, and they could build anything they wanted. If it was in the capital, the largest residence would only be a few hundred acres outside the city. How could they have 10,000 acres of land to build on? Your Highness, the construction has been completed. The wilderness is rather humid, but we've embedded fire pearls in all the dark corners of the castle, enough to dry the storeroom. In addition, all kinds of moonstones and pipes have been prepared. Go take a look. If you're satisfied, you can hand over the remaining 7 sage heart refining pill. The fire talisman spear, horned dragon armor, battle technique wine, pills, and books are all in the storeroom. This is the blueprint. You can search according to it. Also, this castle can accommodate tens of thousands of people, so you need more people. Masao Xiangshan couldn't wait for the second pill. There's no need to check. If the Celestial Designer Institute can't trust me, then there's nothing to trust. Gu Qinsha was delighted. He had always wanted a good residence, and now he finally had one. This could be said to be his real home. Although it was in the wilderness, it was more peaceful than the capital, and everything was under his control. He threw the bottle to Masao Xiangshan. Masao Xiangshan carefully examined the elixir and found that there was nothing wrong with it. He immediately sent a message to the higher-ups of the Heavenly Craftsman Institute to inform them that the matter had been settled. Your Highness, the road is also being built at a rapid pace. It'll soon connect to this place. In addition, the Celestial Designer Institute will also build relay stations on both sides of the road. From now on, this place will not only be Your Highness's fief, but also the territory of the Imperial Court, Masao Kageyama said. With this place as the center, I will expand further into the wilderness. Gu Qinsha ordered loudly, all of you, plant the great Yonko dragon flag at the highest points. Yes. Many warriors replied in unison. In the past 3 days, Lu Yu and the others had already taken in all of Long Yuyun's troops. They had already cultivated to the Dao realm, and with the divine sword in their hands, they were extremely powerful. They were not afraid that those people would not submit. Moreover, they had Long Yuyun's orders. Basically, after accepting Long Yuyun's troops of about 3,000 people, the shortcoming of the lack of manpower in the fief could be temporarily alleviated. However, these were all warriors, and they were only good at fighting and killing enemies. Their daily task was to train in martial arts. The mansion also needed a large number of servants to clean, look after the storeroom, raise poultry, and even have maids to do embroidery, clothes, laundry, and so on. Even if it was a squire or a local tycoon's family, in addition to the guards, there were at least dozens of servants, and at most hundreds of them. Fortunately, Long Yuyun had the experience of commanding millions of soldiers and soldiers. It was not bad to leave it to her. In addition, there were many survivors on Dragon's Word Island, and it was not bad to use them to expand the population of the fief. As for Baoyu country, Gu Qinsha could not trust it for the time being. Long Yuyun already believed that he could save her family, and now she was obedient. Your Highness, then I will take my leave. If there is anything, you can contact me through the cycle box. I will send people over for the maintenance and repair of the castle. In addition, if Your Highness wants to build some fortifications, I can give you a 20% discount. Masao Kageyama cupped his hands and flew away. Gu Qinsha looked at the blueprint in his hand and directly landed in the center of the castle, in the tower where he lived. In the center of the castle, his private residence was a tall tower. This tower had 7 floors. The first floor was the council hall, which was very wide. The second floor was where weapons and swords were placed. The third floor was for clothes. The fourth, fifth, and sixth floors were all empty, and he could decorate them according to his will. The highest floor was his bedroom, and it was also the place where he cultivated. It was the center of the whole mansion and even the whole fief. When he walked into his bedroom, he felt that it was full of spiritual chi. It was actually a spirit-gathering formation. Looking down from the tower, the whole castle was like a huge black tortoise breathing with life, swallowing and spitting out the essence of heaven and earth. All the essence was swallowed and spat out by this huge black tortoise, and all the essence was gathered in this bedroom. Not to mention cultivation. Even staying in this bedroom for 10 days and half a night would cleanse his flesh and remove all diseases. Originally, Gu Qinsha wanted to see what other changes could be made, but he found that the huge castle, the black tortoise out of the sea, the surrounding mountains, the towers on the mountains, and the bridges connected like rainbows. Even the magnetic field of the surrounding mountains was used, and he could not make any changes. Any extra changes would be superfluous. Amazing, amazing! Gu Qinsha exclaimed in his heart. I've learned a lot recently, and I'm very familiar with formations, feng shui, and buildings. However, compared to the Celestial Designer Institute, I'm still far behind. This bedroom was very big, and there were bookshelves on all sides, with many books on them. In the center of the bedroom was not a bed, but something like an altar, which was empty. This is the entire mansion, and even the whole fief, where the formation eye is. It needs a powerful treasure to guard it. Obviously, the Celestial Designer Institute would not leave a powerful treasure for me, so I have to find it myself. Gu Qinsha took out the skeleton and placed it on the formation eye. Wang, the whole bedroom seemed to have been strengthened by some kind of spiritual wave, and the spiritual energy was much stronger. Not enough, although this skeleton is good stuff, it is enough to suppress a normal spirit gathering formation, but it is much weaker to suppress the main formation eye of the whole fief. Let me try that stone. Gu Qinsha took out the stone he obtained from the chaotic, demonic ape temple. This stone was used to suppress the formation eye of the pill treasure vault, and it was definitely a good thing, much stronger than the skeleton. When he took out the stone and placed it on the formation eye, he suddenly found an unexpected change. Kacha, kacha! Within the stone, there was a faint sound. Countless spiritual energies surged into the stone. At the same time, the whole black tortoise-shaped castle had an inexplicable smell, as if it had a spirit. The more than 3,000 soldiers who just entered the castle immediately felt something inexplicable, as if the castle had come to life, as if it was really a black tortoise. When everyone entered its body, they felt a great sense of security, as if there was a primordial divine beast protecting them at all times. Other than that, everyone seemed to have received some kind of power from the unseen world. Gu Qinsha felt it the most. He felt that the stone and the castle resonated with each other, as if they were one. Could it be that inside this stone is the primordial divine beast black tortoise's egg? Only the primordial divine beast black tortoise's egg would resonate with the black tortoise goes to see feng shui pattern, causing the feng shui pattern to have a spirit, and the effect would be several times, or even 10 times stronger. Gu Qinsha understood. The whole castle's feng shui pattern was black tortoise goes to sea, so any magic treasure to suppress the formation I was not as useful as the black tortoise egg. Will I be able to hatch the black tortoise egg in this fossil? But since it has become a fossil, I am afraid it will be difficult to hatch, and only the spirit is left, but it depends on human effort. Gu Qinsha thought, the black tortoise divine beast is naturally tyrannical, born with infinite strength, unpredictable. If I can hatch it, it will become a secret divine beast to suppress the fief, and it will be much more powerful than the Dragon Sword Island's Koan sword. Immediately, he circulated his force, and blood seeped out of his fingers. He drew the talisman on the egg, using the sun and moon refining technique. The sun and moon refining technique. The sun of heaven bestows gods, nurtures all living things, sprinkles my blood over the earth, and all living things grow. Gu Qinsha's mind was immersed in the vast realm of the sun of heaven bestows God art. After he stepped into the Tao realm, this divine art had made great progress, and it could not be mentioned in the same breath as before. The sun of heaven nurtures all living things, and the sun of heaven's blood is the best treasure. It can transform everything and make all living things grow. He drew the talisman on the egg, and finally, he lightly touched it. The egg actually absorbed all of his blood, and then it trembled. The trembling egg was like a child playing around. It actually had emotions. It was joy. In Gu Qinsha's mind, he seemed to see a small black tortoise cheering in the egg, and at the same time, a grateful thought was transmitted over. It actually has spirituality. Gu Qinsha was overjoyed, but he also knew that he couldn't hatch the egg so quickly. The egg had turned into a fossil and lost its vitality. It was useless even if he soaked it in the spiritual liquid. Unless he dripped heavenly dew on it or watered it with the embryonic form of his sun-moon dragon blood, it was impossible to recover. Even then, it might still be very mysterious. However, After watering it with heavenly dew, the black tortoise had no connection with him, and it did not recognize him at all. Using his own blood to refine, it was much more intimate than a pet that he had raised for many years. Moreover, as Guchinch's cultivation increased, the sun and moon dragon blood in his body might not be weaker than the heavenly dew, and it might even be stronger in the future. Moreover, he had used large amounts of heavenly dew before. He forced out more blood and carved more talismans on it. Before stepping into the Tao realm, he could not easily waste essence blood. After stepping into the Tao realm, the situation was much better. This was because he could absorb spiritual energy and circulate it in his body, allowing his essence blood to recover. Chapter 100. Also in the Boorish lands, thousands of miles away from his tribe, there was a large tribe that had been conquered. At this time, it was also undergoing construction. Countless craftsmen and slaves were working in full swing. Tall buildings were rising from the ground. There were also merchants and adventurers coming from afar. Martial artists armed with swords and sabers were buying and selling goods in the tribal market. The market here was flourishing. There were all sorts of special products and treasures of the Boorish lands. However, it was very orderly. No one dared to rob or cause trouble here. This was because there were rows of corpses nailed to the wooden stakes outside the market. They were all executed on the spot for killing and robbing people here. This was Lu Baiyue's territory. In the center of the territory, there was a mansion being built. It was square and took up 1,000 acres of land. However, it was 10 times smaller than Gu Chinch's mansion. Moreover, it was done manually. There were many slaves moving all sorts of things. The mansion was not finished yet. Lu Baiwe was not here. Instead, she was in a wooden house on a nearby mountain peak. After conquering a tribe, she did not advance this month. Instead, she set up camp and occupied the land. This was the plan of all the princes. They knew that it was impossible to wipe out all the barbarians in one go. They had to first stabilize their foundation, attract experts, and mobilize the strength of the people. Only then would they be able to stabilize the land. Moreover, after conquering a tribe, it was the prince's land. It was impossible for the prince to give it up. This was a large piece of land. They were the masters of their own territory. Although it was in the Boorish lands, the land was vast. The mountains and forests were full of treasures. If they could occupy it, they would be rich. Princess Xixiang, Meixiang, and Shuexiang have sent news. After 19th Highness obtained the land that Long Yuyun and Frost Jade Du conquered, some treasure appeared. He asked the Heavenly Craftsman Institute to help. They actually used the Herculean Heavenly Craftsman Ghost God to build the mansion and the entire land in 3 days. At the same time, they are repairing the roads. It is estimated that within a month, they will be able to build a road from the pass to his mansion. Yuxiang reported, "This is strange." Lu Baiwe was shocked. The Heavenly Craftsman Institute wants to use the Herculean Ghost God. Only a few hidden, peerless people have the ability. They are already immortal craftsmen. Other than the Emperor, no one can invite them. Moreover, to use the Herculean Ghost God, they need to consume their own blood to feed them. What benefits did he offer? Even those old fogies were tempted. Those people from the Heavenly Craftsman Institute will only do things if they want to make a profit. They don't have the habit of doing things for free. Your Highness, it seems that His Royal Highness has caught up from behind. Up until now, none of the princes have finished developing their territories, let alone building roads. Yuxiang was a little worried. The construction of our fief is still very slow. The main reason is that the roads are blocked and many materials can't be transported in. This has delayed the construction period. Moreover, it has also blocked many adventurers from coming from within the pass. The merchant caravans can't come in, and it's difficult to sell the goods that we have conquered from the tribes. There's nothing we can do about it. We can only take it slow. Bring all the barbarian slaves to repair roads, open mountains, and build bridges. Lu Baiwe frowned. Looks like I'll have to have a good talk with the people from the Heavenly Craftsman Institute. Not to mention the construction of the mansion, which I can't afford, but the road needs to be built as soon as possible. Those old guys want them to control the demon god of strength, and no amount of money is enough. We need a treasure that can move them. Even though I have such a treasure, I won't give it away just for this. Princess, are we still constructing now? Are we not sending troops? Yu Xiang asked. Of course. This is my fief, and it's the foundation for generations to come. Let the Liu family send more disciples here to gain experience. Liu Bai West Side. But the disciples of the Liu family have been living like princes all these years. They live comfortably in the capital city. Who would be willing to come to the wilderness to suffer? Actually, the maternal families of the princes also have this drawback. I heard that the seventh prince sent many young disciples of legalism to his fief with money and benefits, but only a few were willing to go. They all said that it was dangerous, that the barbarians could counterattack at any time, and that the environment was terrible. Yu Xiang said, instead, many disciples of the country gentlemen and local tycoons came. There is no end to the boundless wilderness. This is a national policy. Those who are brave enough to forge ahead will be favored by the heavens. Many inconspicuous clans will rise up, while those 1,000-year-old noble clans will gradually decline. Liu Baiwei stood up. Tell father to send the younger generation of the Liu family, as well as those idle and useless playboys from our hometown here. I will train them. If there are outstanding disciples, I will focus on training them. Yes. Yu Xiang nodded quickly, but said, the world has been peaceful for a long time. People are vain and have long lost their drive to forge ahead. The emperor may have noticed this long ago, which is why he brazenly launched an attack on the barbarians. With the princes as the lead and the temptation of benefits, he roused the courage of the people. This is a national policy and also a good opportunity for the Liu family to rise. In fact, every aristocratic family has 100 times more playboys than talented disciples. If Princess is worried about those playboys, can you get some tiger wolf pills from the 19th Highness? You are right. Liu Baiwa praised. I wonder if Gu Chunsha has any more tiger wolf pills? Some of our Liu family's disciples are infuriating. They eat, drink, and play all day long. They get drunk in the brothel and even bully the kind. No matter how we teach them, we can't beat them too hard, and we can't kill them. If we give them tiger wolf pills, they will completely change. I will let Si Xiang and the others investigate. What? The 19th prince has already built his territory and asked the Heavenly Craft Institute to help. In the same tribe, the 10th prince Gu Jinsha was also shocked. His territory was also under construction, but apart from the barbarian slaves and his own people, there were few adventurers and caravans coming to his territory. It was relatively deserted, far from Liu Baiyue's territory. What's going on? Why haven't the merchants come and set up camp here? He asked the person beside him. 10th Master, Lei Tong asked for bribes from the merchants at the border. He said that if they want to enter 10th Master's territory to do business, they must please him, or else they can forget about coming. Those merchants are all unwilling. The servant beside him said carefully. That idiot Lei Tong, at this time he actually took this opportunity to make a fortune. Gu Jinsha almost flew into a rage. Laozi will go and tear him apart. He is used to being a tyrant in the Lei family, and he actually dares to ruin my plans. 10th Master, please calm down. Lei Tong is the Patriarch's most beloved son. This time, he was sent to assist 10th Master because of the Thunder Dragon staff. If 10th Master beats Lei Tong again, I'm afraid the Patriarch won't be able to keep his face, and it won't be good for the Empress to face her clansmen. The Empress specially ordered us to properly advise 10th Master not to get into a deadlock with the clansmen. After all, in the future, you will need the support of the clan. The servant immediately knelt down to dissuade him. Gu Jinsha's anger became even more difficult to contain as he scolded. This group of clansmen usually live like princes, but not only do they not help at crucial times, they even drag me down. Wait until Laozi's cultivation is successful. I will definitely clean them up. I will help the people who listen to me. My cultivation is climbing. A few days ago, when I fought with the barbarian race general, I finally broke through to the third transformation. From now on, I won't be injured by blades and can walk freely in the wilderness. This is great news. The servant knew how to calm down his rage. Scoff. On account of my mother, I won't bother with Layton. Contact those merchants and tell them to come in to do business. I will rent land for free and provide food and shelter. I will also send troops to protect them. Guzhan Shah ordered. Far away from the wilderness, numerous ships sailed into the ocean from the canal. They brought all sorts of goods and dumped them to many countries overseas. At the same time, there were many ships that entered from overseas. The taxes from the customs flowed into the treasury. The great Yonko S fleet was also the strongest in history. Under the bombardment of the cannons, any pirate or thief would just be asking to die. The commander in charge of the great Yonko Navy and Customs was the Crown Prince Guzhan Shah. He was the eldest son of the Heaven Talisman Emperor. His residence was by the sea, and the manors were connected to each other. There were many layers, and one couldn't see the end. At that moment, in the depths of the residence, outside the dark hall, someone knelt down and reported something. First Majesty, Long Yun has taken the people of Dragon Word Island to 19th Majesty's side. Yuhan Lu has taken her people to his fief as well. It seems like they're coming to an agreement. The person knelt outside the door, but he could not see what was happening inside. He could only feel darkness and nothingness, as if there was no light in the hall, and it led to a pitch-black demonic domain. Bring all the recent intelligence reports over. I want to read them carefully. In the depths of the hall, a cold voice spread out. There was no emotion at all. Yes, that person waved his hands behind him. Instantly, people carried a few large boxes of intelligence reports over. Suddenly, an invisible energy swept out. Those few boxes of intelligence reports were swept into the depths of the dark hall and disappeared. A long while later, a voice spread out from within. Old Seven has finally cultivated the glass jade body? I thought he would never be able to break through. Everyone says that he has the highest cultivation among us princes, but they don't know that I've been ahead of him for a long time. I just don't want to expose myself, so I purposely spread rumors that my cultivation is low. The servant kneeling outside did not dare to answer. He was expressionless. He was a death warrior. As for that trash 19, he has an expert guiding him. Otherwise, how could he have the treasure to ask that old guy from the Heavenly Craftsman Institute to use the Strength Demon God? The voice in the darkness said, "Send a message to Long Yuyun. Tell her to bring people here and kneel before me. Otherwise, I will kill her brother and drain his blood." Yes, the death warrior said. Also, kill Yuhan Lu. Since she wants to join that trash, only death awaits her. Also, let the Crown Prince replace me and conquer a barbarian tribe. It will be my fief. The wilderness will be a strategic location in the future. We must make arrangements. Yes. Chapter 101. With Long Yuyun's help, the fiefdom was in good order. She had brought a large number of servants from within the Great Wall, and there were more than 3,000 of them. In addition to her own 3,000 warriors, there were more than 7,000 of them in total, which was enough to fill up the population of the fiefdom. Moreover, she had been ordering them around for generations, so there was no problem with their loyalty. Guzhan Shah didn't care about all this. Anyway, he was the one in charge of the land, and Long Yuyun was counting on him to save her family. He could only work hard. Moreover, he knew that raising his strength was the key. When he was strong, he would be able to suppress all the chaos in the land. For example, the Heaven Talisman Emperor didn't care about any schemes. Moreover, during these 10 days of cultivation, he spent most of his time in his bedroom, using his blood to draw talismans to hatch the Xuanwu God Beast Egg. Surprisingly, not only did his cultivation not drop because of the loss of blood, but it became purer and purer instead. Using his own blood to feed the common people was in line with the Son of Heaven Tao. Not only that, every time the blood he used to draw talismans was absorbed by the black tortoise egg, the black tortoise egg would reciprocate with an extremely thick and long essence qi that flowed through his entire body, causing his strength to increase even more. Although the toughness of his body couldn't be said to truly be comparable to copper skin and iron bones, it was still difficult for swords and spears to penetrate. His strength exceeded that of 9 bulls and 2 tigers, but he didn't break through to the second transformation of Tao Realm. Although the second transformation of Tao Realm was called 9 bulls and 2 tigers, in truth, it was just a description. One really needed to breathe in spiritual energy to spread it to one's limbs and bones, slowly nurturing it. In the end, one's flesh and blood would transform and give birth to immense strength. People who cultivated normal cultivation techniques would have 9 bulls and 2 tigers after the process of spiritual energy spreading around their body and absorbing it into their flesh and blood. But people who cultivated profound techniques would have to exceed this limit. Guchen's son of heaven god's sealing technique was really strong. The moment he stepped into Tao Realm, he broke through the limit of 9 bulls and 2 tigers. Once he merged the spiritual energy with his flesh and blood and stepped into the second transformation of Tao Realm, his strength would be several times that of 9 bulls and 2 tigers. More importantly, with the gradual awakening of the black tortoise egg and the suppression of the formation I, the entire castle of the black tortoise leaving the sea pattern also came to life. As long as one lived inside, they would unknowingly be contaminated with the aura of the black tortoise, thus becoming strong and sturdy, and their lifespan would also be extended. The black tortoise was known for its sturdiness, vigor, and long lifespan. Among the primordial divine beasts, there were only a few that could compare to the black tortoise in terms of physical strength, and even fewer that could compare to its lifespan. It was recorded in the history books that when the plants near the dragon's lair were contaminated with the dragon's aura, they would turn into immortal herbs. After consuming them, one could live forever. The black tortoise was also a divine beast, and its status was equal to that of a dragon. When the people and plants near it were contaminated with its aura, they would also have divine power. Not to mention that Gu Chansha was feeding the black tortoise with his blood. Their auras were connected, and the black tortoise egg's life essence was activated. Naturally, it would be injected into his body more or less. Kacha. Gu Chansha was testing his own strength. He grabbed a piece of Xian steel and used a bit of strength. The Xian steel shattered like an egg. He casually rubbed it, and the Xian steel was like mud that changed shape in his hands. Prince, I led a team to patrol the mountains and found barbarian race spies. We captured all of them. Are we going to kill them or make them slaves? That barbarian race spy is really strong and is at martial ancestor realm. He brought a team of 10 martial artists, so if we don't kill them, it will be hard to manage them. They can kill the guards at any moment and rebel. In the castle, Zhou was reporting to Gu Chansha. Gu Chansha rubbed it while replying, "Bring me to take a look." Zhou looked at the Xian steel in shock. It instantly turned into a lifelike dragon. He did it so easily, and Zhou was really impressed. Xian steel was really tough, and it wasn't normal steel. It was refined from steel, and only after many rounds of refining could it be made into Xian steel. Prince's strength and body are probably comparable to someone at the third transformation of Tao Realm, right? Zhou guessed. He had also stepped into the Tao Realm and had been working hard recently. He had been studying and listening to Yu Ming's lessons. Along with the effects of the 7 Saint Heart training pill, his intellect had slowly deepened and he could see more things. Recently, he had been getting better and better at doing things. He was also really loyal. He came to the jail in the castle, and, as expected, he saw a barbarian race general and 10 others. They were all locked up, but they weren't shackled. The entire cell was made of Xian steel, and unless one reached Tao Realm 3 transformation, it would be tough to forcefully break out. Moreover, there were many hidden weapons in the cell. As long as the prisoner made any weird movements, the mechanisms would be activated and the prisoner would be killed. This was a unique design of the Celestial Designer Institute. Don't worry, Prince. I use sword energy to seal their meridians. If they use too much strength, their bodies will hurt. They are no different from normal people. Zhou said, Which tribe are you from? Why did you come here to scout? Gu Qinsha asked in the barbarian language. The barbarian race general didn't say a word and just looked at him cruelly. He muttered like he was praying to an evil god. It is a waste to kill a martial ancestor. Call Yiming over and see if he can persuade this martial ancestor. If he can't, then we can only kill him. Gu Qinsha took a look and instructed. He didn't think about killing the barbarian race priest to obtain the heaven dew. The barbarian race became captives and lost their ability to fight back. Killing them seemed really bad. Moreover, the land clearing, farming, and breeding depended on the barbarian race slaves. There were close to 100,000 barbarian race slaves in the land, and the management was a huge problem. It wasn't good to kill all of them, but if they didn't, they might riot at any moment. This was something that all the rulers found problematic. Gu Qinsha felt that it was best to change these barbarian race. But the barbaric and bloodthirsty nature of the barbarian race had seeped into their bones, so it wasn't easy to change them. Master, you want me to subdue these barbarians? Yiming came over. He already knew what Gu Qinsha meant. If I still believed in God Maha, I could use his power to subdue them and do whatever I wanted. But now that I don't believe in God Maha, it's hard to control them. Then how about you create a new god by borrowing the power of the gods? Create a new sect and let these people worship me. Gu Qinsha said, the barbarians have not been civilized for generations. Using civilized methods to educate them definitely won't work. Only ghosts and gods can make them submit. No, Yiming shook his head. To make these barbarians submit, we have to let them sacrifice themselves to gain power. Now that I am using a god, even if they worship the god behind me, they won't be able to get anything back from killing them. The barbarians aren't stupid. If they can't get any benefits, they will feel cheated and will rebel even more. Indeed, there's no way to give them power. Gu Qinsha thought about it and agreed. The reason why a god was because after worshipping them, they could gain power by sacrificing themselves. They could also use it to treat illnesses. For example, there used to be a medicine god among the people. If someone had a headache or fever, they could kill a chicken and sacrifice it to the god. Now, Heavenly Talisman Great Emperor had abolished this god. Everyone who was sick had to see a doctor, and medical centers were set up everywhere. Those who worship the god when they are sick are guilty. This was the decree. Lock them up first. Their 3 meals are rice. Wait until I think of a way to subdue the barbarians. Gu Qinsha waved his hand and left the cell. It seemed like there was still a long way to go before he could educate the barbarians. When he left the cell, he saw Long Yuyun rushing over. I have something to talk to you about. Yiming, think of a way to subdue the barbarians. This is a top priority. Gu Qinsha ordered. There are close to 100,000 barbarian slaves here. It won't be fun if they cause trouble. Yes, master. Yiming bowed. Come, let's talk in my study. Gu Qinsha grabbed Long Yuyun. Activating the great dragon armor, he flew up the tower and entered his study-cum-bedroom on the highest floor. The first prince has already sent a message to me. He wants me to bring my men and kneel before him to atone for my crimes. Otherwise, he will kill my younger brother. That younger brother of mine is a genius. He was originally the hope of our Dragon's Word Island. Unfortunately, he was captured by the first prince. Long Yuyun said, "What do you think?" Gu Qinsha asked. "I can only ask for your help." Long Yuyun said, "Then have you ever thought of submitting to the old minister?" Gu Qinsha asked again. "Impossible. Even if I'm the only one left, I will fight to the death." A ruthless expression appeared on Long Yuyun's face. "If I submit, I'm afraid my entire family will die. With me around, there's still a chance for revenge." Well said. Since that's the case, I will go and rescue him immediately. Gu Qinsha sipped his tea. But the territory needs to be rebuilt. If I'm not around, I'm afraid there will be problems. I can deal with all these problems. Long Yuyun gritted her teeth. I've already talked things over with Frost Jade. She's brought her own people and is now completely under your command. The other opponents have already left, and Yuba has completely severed ties with her. She has returned to gather merchant groups and station them here. At the same time, she will bring more merchant groups to prosper your territory. Also, she has gifted you 300 high-grade jades. That's good. Gu Qinsha looked around. I also want to save your family as soon as possible. Only then will you cooperate with me. The barbarians have already sent scouts to investigate. I'm afraid there will be a large army attacking soon. We have to prepare for battle. I will do my best to bring the frosty jade dew. Long Yun couldn't care about anything else at this moment. All right, I'll leave immediately. Gu Qinsha reached out and kept the Xuanwu egg. The entire castle lost its charm, and the spiritual energy in the room became much thinner. He activated his thoughts, and the great dragon armor wrapped around him. There was no aura, no wind, no ripples. It was even more mysterious than the invisible talisman. Recently, the great dragon armor had become more and more mysterious. This was because it had digested that crystal. At the same time, Gu Qinsha would occasionally use the sun and moon refinement and essence blood to refine it. Although Gu Qinsha's cultivation was strong, at most, it was comparable to someone at the Tao realm transformation, 3 copper skin and iron bones. The reason why he was able to slice off Yuba's finger was because he used the great dragon armor to block his Xiantian energy. Along with the fact that the demon descending blade had become extremely sharp, Yuba wasn't prepared at all. If not for the great dragon armor and demon descending blade, he would have been killed in one move. Chapter 102. The great dragon armor didn't have the ability to absorb spiritual energy, unlike the 5 swords of Lu Yu and the others. It consumed a lot of spiritual energy to fly. Although he had swallowed the spirit crystal, the spiritual qi had been slowly digested by him using the sun and moon refinement technique. The spiritual qi had fused into the armor itself, making the armor even more sturdy and spiritual. It was the same as digesting the spirit crystal. If he wanted to fly, he would have to continue replenishing it. After flying for a day, at night, he found a place to land. First, he used the beast soul stone to set up a spirit gathering formation and then suppress the black tortoise egg on it. Immediately, the formation surged with spirit qi. Then he inserted the 18 heavenly dragon spirit gathering flags and placed a jade bowl in the middle of the formation. This jade bowl was obtained from the cold jade dew and was specially used to store spiritual liquid. The formation was filled with mist which gathered into the jade bowl. When the sky was about to turn bright, there were dozens of drops of spiritual liquid in the jade bowl. He poured it all onto the great dragon armor, and instantly spiritual energy surged within, allowing him to fly. With the beast soul stones, sky dragon spirit gathering flags, and Xuanwu egg as formation treasures, it was really easy to set up a spirit gathering formation. Of course, other people didn't have altar space and couldn't carry so many beast soul stones, so they wouldn't be able to do what he did. He couldn't bear to use the spirit crystal to fly, so he came down to make spiritual liquid. Spiritual liquid was actually really precious, and 1 drop was worth a few thousand. It was hard to buy on the market. This was equivalent to spending more than 100,000 yuan. No wonder so few people fly. Even if they have flying treasures, they will just walk. They can't fly at all. Even Tao realm transformation, 7 experts won't choose to fly unless they have no other choice. It consumes too much energy. Gu Qinsha felt his heart hurt. He cleaned up the spirit gathering formation and flew once more. 3 days later, he arrived at the seaside. Slowly descending, his feet touching the ground, he looked at the endless manor in the distance, as well as the tall prince's manor between the mountains and the sea. It had to be said that the eldest prince's manor was the most imposing out of all the princes. He was the eldest prince, and the Heaven Talisman Emperor had him before he ascended the throne. However, he was far from what the other princes could compare to. Although Gu Qinsha knew that this mansion was far inferior to the chaotic, demonic ape temple, he didn't dare to let his guard down. He took out another spirit crystal and wrapped it around the great dragon armor. This way, it would be able to sustain the armor's spiritual energy if he encountered an expert. Whenever the great dragon armor was attacked, it would squirm to neutralize the force of the attack. However, this also consumed spiritual energy. The fiercer the attack, the more spiritual energy it would consume. If it ran out of spiritual energy, it would shrink into a ball and lose its defensive capabilities. If it was an ordinary first or second transformation Tao realm expert, even if he had the great dragon armor, he wouldn't be able to afford it. Although one could absorb spiritual energy at Tao realm, it would merge with the blood and spread throughout the body. If a Tao realm expert wanted to get spiritual liquid, he had to store it in his dantian. Once it accumulated enough, he would force it out from the pores on his fingers. After 3 days, he would be able to refine a drop of spiritual liquid. When everything was ready, he began to sneak into the mansion. Even though the great dragon armor had the ability to conceal his presence and conceal his scent, it was impossible for even hunting dogs to pick up his scent. However, he still chose to sneak in at night. The moonless night sky was gloomy. Gu Chunsha easily bypassed the sentry posts and snuck into the first prince's mansion. There were many experts in the first prince's mansion. There were both open and hidden sentries, and there were almost no blind spots. If the great dragon armor didn't have the ability to conceal itself, it would have been difficult for Gu Chunsha to sneak in. Previously, he had entered the chaotic, demonic ape temple by impersonating the shadow priest. How rich! The mansion was inlaid with moonstones, and it was brightly lit. The floor was also paved with jade stones. Upon entering the mansion, faint spiritual energy drifted in the air. The whole mansion was a huge spiritual energy gathering formation. This is the mountain and sea spiritual incubation diagram. Between the mountains and the seas, the mountains are stable and the seas are surging. The two energies intersect, and all kinds of treasures are used to suppress them. Living in the eye of the formation, one can give birth to a god embryo. Of course, that's an exaggeration, but it's no small matter. It's even more complicated than my black tortoise emerging from a sea. Gu Chunsha secretly looked around, and he already had some clues. In fact, before coming here, he had asked Long Yuyun for information about the first prince's mansion. Of course, Long Yuyun had no way of knowing where her relatives were imprisoned. She couldn't pry into the first prince's secrets, but she had a rough understanding of the layout. All right, he slowly searched, but he didn't find the place where the relatives were imprisoned. The mansion was huge, and even if he wandered around for 8 to 10 days, he might not be able to search the entire place. However, Gu Chunsha wasn't in a hurry. He slowly walked forward, and soon he saw a solemn hall with the words Holy Worship Hall written on it. Joy immediately filled his heart, and a thought rose in his mind. He knew what was inside the Holy Worship Hall. It was an imperial edict from the emperor to the prince. The edict, the rewards, all had to be worshipped in a hall. Although it didn't have any actual use, it was still a great honor. The crown prince has been bestowed the most titles, and there's a bunch of imperial edicts. I want to get a sacrifice and extract the emperor's energy. I will definitely be able to upgrade the sun and moon altar. Apart from that, I might even be able to obtain the fourth move. Gu Chunsha had an idea. He hid at the entrance, and while the servants were cleaning, he snuck in. As expected, he saw many imperial edicts placed on the shelves. There were also incense offerings. Imperial edicts weren't important treasures, and they were just used to show one's face. The guards weren't too strict, and no one would be so bored as to steal them. So, after the servants cleaned up, they closed the door. Gu Chunsha moved quickly and swept away all the imperial edicts and edicts on the shelves into the space of the sacrificial altar. After he rose to Tao realm, his control over the sacrificial power became even more exquisite. He was confident that during the sacrificial process, he wouldn't destroy the imperial edicts. He could directly extract the emperor's energy from them and place them back after the sacrificial ceremony. Gu Chunsha sacrificed the heavens. He communicated with the sun and moon altar and started to chant. Wang, the sun and moon altar started to spin, and an indescribable thing appeared on the imperial edicts. It was majestic and deep, and it contained all things. It contained the laws and rules, and it contained the will of countless beings. It also contained a power that could twist fate and change the world. This was the Emperor's energy. When the Emperor was angry, the world would bleed. One word from the Emperor could shake a country. A person could go from poor to rich, and a noble person could be turned into a prisoner, and their entire family would be executed. This invisible power was much stronger than cultivation power. It was the laws, the human heart, and the Tao. By sacrificing this power to the heavens, one could naturally obtain the best blessings. As expected, after receiving so many imperial edicts, the Emperor's energy became really thick. The entire sun and moon altar shone brightly and suddenly shook. The space expanded once more, and the sun and moon finally condensed. Yin and yang circulated, and boundless light shone on the altar, making his body feel transparent. Following this, a supreme intent descended from the light. Countless dragons appeared in his mind, and they intertwined with each other, forming a martial technique, Sun and Moon Dragon. Sun and Moon shine together, fourth technique, Sun and Moon Dragon. Sun and Moon Dragon. So, with this move, Glyph was delighted. The Sun and Moon Dragon had a set of body-refining techniques. As he cultivated, his body would transform. He would first cultivate the Sun and Moon Dragon scales, Sun and Moon Dragon skin, Sun and Moon Dragon tendons, Sun and Moon Dragon bones, Sun and Moon Dragon marrow, and finally, the Sun and Moon Dragon body. The Sun and Moon Dragon body was so strong that normal people couldn't imagine it. More importantly, when he cultivated the Sun Moon Dragon, his body would become even stronger, and the blood in his body would become even denser. That would be the true Sun Moon Dragon blood, and refining magic treasures will be much better than before. There was also the Dragon Transformation Fluid, which was made by many evil gods with reference to the ancient sun of heaven's Sun and Moon Dragon blood. Although it wasn't as pure as the Sun and Moon Dragon blood, it was still very nourishing. Glyph would use it to cultivate the Sun and Moon Dragon technique in the future. Although the heavenly dew was something bestowed by the heavenly Tao, it was actually nourishing the Sun and Moon Dragon blood. The ancient Son of Heaven killed evil people to obtain the heavenly dew, and after using it, he turned the Sun and Moon Dragon blood into the Sun and Moon Dragon blood. The effect of the Sun and Moon Dragon blood was above the heavenly dew. The Son of Heaven was known as the true Dragon Son of Heaven. His life's dream was to turn from a true dragon into the Sun and Moon Dragon, and then evolve into the Heaven and Earth Dragon, and finally reach a realm that no one had ever reached before, the Dragon of all beings. In reality, there were very few ancient Son of Heaven who cultivated the Sun and Moon Dragon body, and none of them cultivated the Heaven and Earth Dragon body. However, the Sun and Moon Dragon technique could only be cultivated on the Sun and Moon altar to achieve great success. Without the Sun and Moon altar, one could at most achieve small success and would not be able to form the true Sun and Moon Dragon body. Now that he had received so many imperial edicts and the Son of Heaven's chi, the Sun and Moon altar had successfully evolved, and he had learned the Sun and Moon Dragon technique. Glyph felt that this trip was not in vain. He placed the imperial edicts one by one, but he caused a small commotion in the room. The servant outside heard it and immediately came in to search, but after a long time, he didn't find anything, nor did he lose anything. He took the opportunity to open the door and slip out, continuing to search for the prison. But after searching for a long time, he didn't find anything. Where is it? This was the mountain and sea conception layout. Logically speaking, the prison should be in a place where the sea and the sky met, where it could quickly vent its resentment and transform into the sea. The prison was a filthy place, and the resentment was extremely heavy. The location of the prison had to be paid attention to. Otherwise, the entire layout would be messed up, and it would become neither fish nor fowl, completely losing its effect. The originally good feng shui has become an evil place. Glyph entered the space of the Sun and moon altar to observe the surroundings. He looked for the place where the sea and the sky met, but he didn't see the prison. This was a little strange. Could it be that it's not imprisoned here? He was a little suspicious. He searched for an entire night, but he didn't find any clues. Early in the morning, the sun rose, and the mountain and sea were dazzling. He observed the sun and moon altar again, and suddenly discovered that there was an extremely thick black aura in the center of the mansion. It was gathered into a ball, and it was inconceivably evil. What? He came out of the sun and moon altar to take a look, but he didn't find the black aura. The sun was still shining brightly. But when he entered the sun and moon altar to take a look, he saw the black aura again. Chapter 103. Looking at the swirling black aura in the depths of the manor, he was almost certain that the first prince was cultivating demonic arts. It was possible that Long Yuyun's relatives were imprisoned underground, and the first prince was personally watching over them. He immediately went to the center of the mansion and saw a tall building. It looked like a pagoda, yet not a pagoda, like a monolith, yet not a monolith. There was no guard around it, and the door was open. However, the inside of the building was pitch black, and the black gas kept rolling. He couldn't see it clearly at night, but he could see it clearly during the day. Even sunlight couldn't penetrate the darkness. This is terrifying. How can I go in and investigate? Gu Qinsha flashed to the door and observed carefully. However, he didn't go in. After a long time, he couldn't find any clues. He couldn't see clearly inside. At this time, some servants came over and quietly cleaned the courtyard. When they arrived at the door, they didn't dare to take half a step in. Their eyes were filled with fear as they looked at the black gas. After cleaning, the servants left one after another. Gu Qinsha followed behind them to listen to what they were saying. Little Chu, you're new here. You must pay attention to the rules. You mustn't enter that door when cleaning. Otherwise, your whole body will be sucked dry. Old Bear was like this last time. He saw a leaf blown into the door by the wind and wanted to go in to pick it up. He was sucked dry as soon as he entered. An old servant warned a young servant. Uncle, I understand. The young servant shivered. The two of them were relatives. Hearing this, Gu Qinsha secretly rejoiced in his heart that he was cautious and didn't enter. Otherwise, the great dragon armor might not be able to resist the black gas. He waited here with extreme patience. After so many days in the demonic ape temple, his character had long been cultivated. Even if he stayed in the mansion for a month and searched everywhere, he would definitely find some clues and come up with a solution. He slowly walked around and felt his way to the east side of the mansion. This was the residence of the women and their families. The decoration was luxurious and precious, and the spiritual qi was also abundant. There were large areas of palaces and gardens. Hey, hey, hey! Angry roars could be heard. In a martial arts field, boys and girls had already woken up early to practice fist techniques. Some of these children should be the sons and daughters of the eldest prince, Gu Hongsha. Some were the descendants of the Hung family, and some were the children of Gu Hongsha's trusted retainers. The first prince, Gu Hongsha, had married long ago and had many children. Gu Qinsha eavesdropped for a while, but he didn't get any useful information. These men and women were all practicing hard. Their cultivation was extremely strong, and most of them were martial arts masters. Especially Gu Hongsha's sons. While they were practicing, whirlwinds appeared, and their shadows swayed. Their physical strength was unbelievably strong. Clang, clang, clang. After about half an hour, the morning classes ended. A group of eunuchs from the Long Mansion came over with plates of food. Gentlemen, it's time for breakfast. The plates were placed on the many tables in the hall of the training field. A few men and women sat down, while the others stood. Their levels could be seen immediately. Those who could sit down were the sons and daughters of Gu Hongsha. The others were either from the Hung family or retainers. It was similar to the education in the palace. Seeing such a scene, Gu Qinsha remembered the time when he was studying in the palace. But when he saw the food on the table, he was secretly surprised. In front of these men and women was a plate of fruit. There was a fire date and a green peach cut into pieces. Fire date, green peach. Gu Hongxia's sons and daughters actually eat this for breakfast? How rich is he? When Gu Chansha went to Xian province for the first time, he had eaten these two things at the big banquet where all the officials gathered. That was hosted by the third prince, and it was extremely rare. Those officials only ate the fire date, and they didn't even think about the green peach. After eating the fire date and the green peach all year round, the flesh and blood in the body were pure. Clear air came out of the pores, and one could walk on air like an immortal. Eldest Prince Gu Hongxia's sons got these food, but the others who were standing only got a plate of meat and a cup of tea. The meat was crystal clear, exquisite, and full of texture. It was the meat of a strong bull. After eating it, it would increase one's strength and strengthen one's bones. It was the main dish of the rich and noble families, but it was much worse than the fire date and the green peach. But thinking about it, no matter how rich the eldest prince Gu Hongxia was, he couldn't afford to give the fire date to the disciples of the side family. Not to mention the indigo immortal peach. The green peach couldn't be eaten by each person either. It was cut into a few pieces, and each person only had one piece. The men and women chatted as they ate. I heard that boss actually stepped into the Dao realm recently and asked Father to go to the wilderness to lead the army. Father sent a memorial to the imperial court, and Grandfather Emperor has already approved it. The Grandfather Emperor they mentioned was the Heavenly Talisman Emperor. According to seniority, although these men and women were the same age as Gu Chansha, they were his nephews. Didn't the boss obtain the Great Spirit God Ring? He wears it all year round and is cleansed by God power. Even a pig can become an expert. Gu Chansha's ears stood up. The boss was Gu Hongxia's son. Only the son could inherit Gu Hongxia's title and become a duke. Gu Hongxia was the prince, so after the eldest son became the prince, his title would drop from prince to duke. The Great Spirit God Ring was left by Gu Chansha's mother and fell into the hands of the eldest prince Gu Hongxia. Who would have thought that Gu Hongxia would give it to his son? If Gu Chansha wore this ring from a young age, his strength would have reached the third or even the fourth stage of the Dao realm. This ring was the strongest out of his mother's 3 dowry treasures. It was much stronger than the law-breaking sword because it was made from the finger bone of the Great Spirit God. It was a God bone. After wearing it, God power would cleanse the body and change the acupoints. Even a baby would be cured of all illnesses, and they would be as strong as a bull. Moreover, they would be able to transcend the mortal world. The ring was meant to be left to him. His mother's 3 dowry treasures, the demon-protecting robe and the law-breaking celestial sword, were meant to protect him. The Great Spirit God Ring was meant for his son to use so that he would stand out from the other princes. Unfortunately, things didn't go according to plan. Sooner or later, I will get my things back. But let's save Long Yuyun's family first. Although Gu Chansha was furious, he followed the plan step by step. He wouldn't let his emotions affect his actions. He continued to listen. All of you back off. Let's brothers talk for a while. Just at that moment, the few of them waved their hands. The people in the dining hall all left and closed the door. What do you think Father has been doing recently? What demonic art does he cultivate? A boy asked in a low voice. These were the sons and daughters of Crown Prince Gu Hongxia, but they weren't afraid of revealing it. I heard that Father obtained a piece of flesh from the fallen ancient heretic god. That piece of flesh is still alive. It tried to be reborn, but was suppressed by Father. He wants to use demonic arts to fuse it into his body and suppress his will. If he succeeds, then Father will have suppressed the remnant will of the heretic god. Not only will his mystic arts be perfected, but his demonic arts will also be perfected. When that time comes, 7th uncle will be far from Father's match. He can defeat him with a flick of his finger, another boy said mysteriously. What? How did you know? The few of them came over. I overheard the conversation between my mother and the clan leader. You must not tell anyone. The boy's voice lowered again. After Gu Chansha heard this, he understood. He was shocked. This big brother Gu Hongxia was really ambitious. He actually obtained the flesh and blood of the fallen heretic god. One of the 36 transformations was called rebirth from a single drop of blood. Even if a person were to be destroyed, leaving behind only a single drop of blood, they would still be able to slowly absorb spiritual energy. After several hundred years, or even 1,000 years, they would be able to wriggle and be reborn. Although the ancient heretic god had fallen, he still had such an ability. Guhungsha actually wanted to melt the flesh and blood into his body. At the same time, he wanted to use his own will to suppress the heretic god's will within. Such a thought was just overpowered. One must know that even if the heretic god was only left with a small ball of flesh and blood, it wasn't something that people below Tao Realm 9 could compare to. If my guesses are correct, the black energy came from the heretic god's flesh and blood. Gu Qinsha thought about it. If that is the case, then it is even harder for me to sneak in. If my cultivation improved and I reached the third transformation, copper skin and iron bones, then even if I used the Son of Heaven God sealing technique, it might not be able to suck my flesh and blood dry. But now it is impossible. With the Son of Heaven God sealing technique, one's flesh and blood would be so dense that normal experts couldn't compare to it. It was pretty much impossible to use an evil technique to suck it dry. Gu Qinsha listened once more, but he didn't hear any secrets. The few of them were chatting about some things in the manner like what business they did outside, how much money they earned, how many beauties they bought, or where they were going to play the next day. They were also discussing about exploring the ocean. He was too lazy to listen to those things. He continued to hide in front of the tall building that was covered in black energy. It was noon, and the sun hung in the sky. It was really intense, and it was the time of the day when the yang energy was the strongest. Suddenly, the black mist weakened and started to retract. The scenery in the tall building became clearer. In the center of the hall was a deep hole with stairs leading down. There was no time to lose. Gu Qinsha didn't even think about it and dashed into the hall. He followed the stairs down and entered the underground palace. It was similar to the underground palace in the chaotic world demon ape god temple. But rich families and nobles all loved to hide their treasures and build their secret rooms underground. This was the way to hide things. If it was built on the ground, it would be easy to find and expose one's target. If it was underground, it would be much safer. It was covered by the ground and could be connected to the energy of the earth. Gu Qinsha's new land had many layers of secret rooms, but they weren't used yet. As the population increased, the underground secret rooms would be used. Chapter 104. The underground palace was inlaid with pearls and jade, and spiritual energy surged. It was as if all the spiritual energy in the mountains and seas had been gathered here. The air was fresh, without the slightest bit of dampness or mold. Instead, it was full of vitality. The underground palace extended in all directions, as if it went deep into the sea. Who knew what kind of uncanny craftsmanship had been used to build such a huge underground palace at the bottom of the sea? However, Gu Qinsha was in no mood to admire the beautiful scenery. He lurked quietly and cautiously. He could already tell that the layout of this underground palace was the inescapable net trap. This layout was a trap that created a labyrinth. Anyone who entered would be confused, and as time passed, their thoughts would be affected and they would turn into an idiot. Clearly, this layout was not used for cultivation, but to suppress something. Recently, he had been studying and studying formations. He had gained a lot of insight into them, and he could learn them without a teacher. Of course, this was something he had comprehended after taking the Seven Sages' Heart Refinement Pill. It could not be considered self-taught, but the ancient human Seven Sages as his teachers. Gu Qinsha's greatest strength was that he was good at learning. Although he had no resources since he was young, he had been diligently studying, and he was still the same now. Although the inescapable net trap is a maze, there are still traces to follow. He slowly searched. There was no one here, and it was empty, but it made things a lot easier for him. The thing suppressing it should be in the center. He flickered left and right, floating in the air. His feet didn't touch the ground, and he didn't touch the walls. With the power of the great dragon armor, he floated in the air like a ghost. The great dragon armor had swallowed a spirit crystal, and the spiritual energy within it was abundant. This maze was gradually analyzed by him, allowing him to walk freely without getting lost. Before long, he entered the central area. What is that? There was an altar in the central area. It was very ancient, and it was bronze. There was a wriggling mass of flesh on it. This mass of flesh was only the size of a fist, but as it wriggled, the sound of a surging sea of blood could be heard. And on the altar sat a person, breathing into the wriggling mass of flesh. The altar was covered in dense runes, as well as jade chains that pierced through the lump of flesh and firmly nailed it to the altar. If it weren't for these runes sealing it, perhaps this lump of flesh and blood would have flown out and turned the entire mansion into a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. The person sitting on the altar was the first prince, Guhangsha. He was wearing a blood-colored robe that was covered in magical symbols. It was clearly a powerful magical treasure that surpassed even the great dragon armor and emanated an ancient aura. His complexion was like jade, sparkling and translucent. His entire person was like a jade sculpture, like a glazed jade that had been tempered thousands of times in raging flames, without the slightest flaw. This was the glass jade body. Boss has also cultivated the glass jade body. Without thinking, Gu Chunsha entered the space of the sun-moon altar with a thought. Normally speaking, even with the great dragon armor's concealment ability, there was no way he could hide from someone who had cultivated the glass jade body. However, First Prince Gu Hongsha was completely focused on the wriggling mass of flesh and blood on the altar. Even if the sky were to collapse, he wouldn't care. After cultivating the glass jade body, one's flesh and blood were tempered by samadhi true fire, making it impervious to all evil. Add in some powerful magical treasures and spell formations, and you could suppress this little lump of flesh and blood left behind by the ancient wretch god. After all, the ancient wretch god had long since perished, and its true form had long since ceased to exist. You'll die a horrible death, Gu Hongsha. Curses could be heard all around. Only then did Gu Chansha realize that there were many prisons around the altar, each of which held a large number of people. These people had powerful blood and energy, and there were even Dao realm experts among them. Most of them were martial arts masters. Don't tell me that Long Yuyun's relatives are among them. Gu Chansha took out the drawings from the sun-moon altar. These drawings were extremely lifelike, and they were all of Long Yuyun's relatives. There were parents, a brother, and 2 sisters. After walking around, he realized that in the West prison, there were 2 middle-aged men, a little boy, and 2 girls. They were exactly the same as in the drawings. He was instantly shocked. Saving these 5 people meant that he had completely taken over the Dragon Sword Island's power. But now, it was almost impossible to save them in front of the Crown Prince, Gu Hongsha. Gu Chansha could only wait patiently. You people for the Dragon Sword Island's royal family have the bloodline of the Sea God and the Dragon God. Although it is impossible to activate them, I can extract and purify them. With the divinity of the Sea God and the Dragon God, they can help me suppress the wretch god's flesh and blood. The Crown Prince Gu Hongsha grabbed with one hand. Immediately, his innate gang chi shot out from his body and shot into a prison. The Long family member who was cursing him in the prison immediately screamed in pain. All of his blood was sucked dry, and the blood fused into the innate gang chi, causing the originally pure and flawless innate gang chi to turn blood red. The Crown Prince Gu Hongsha didn't care about killing this person directly. The innate gang chi rubbed against each other, and a raging flame was ignited. The flame extracted the blood, but in the end, nothing was extracted. It's too thin. The bloodline of the Sea God and the Dragon God is getting thinner and thinner with each generation. Could it be that only Long Yuyun has received the most inheritance? Looks like I have to capture her back. The Crown Prince Gu Hongsha shook his head. Suddenly, The wretch god's flesh and blood wriggled again. Countless black gas rolled and spread out with it as the center. Guhongsha hurriedly activated his innate gang chi. The blood-red rune robe on his body flickered continuously, preventing the flesh and blood from flying out. There were talismans on the prison, preventing the black gas from invading. Otherwise, the people in the prison would have died long ago. The wretch god's flesh and blood wriggled more and more intensely. The crown prince, Guhongsha, grabbed again when it was wriggling the most intensely. He sucked the blood of another person in the prison and dripped it into the wretch god's flesh and blood. The wretch god's flesh and blood immediately calmed down. This was because the Dragon Sword Island's long family had the divinity of the sea god and the dragon god in their bloodline. Although it was thin, it could still damage the will in the wretch god's flesh and blood. The dragon god and sea god were the righteous gods, and they opposed the wretch god. Their divinity repelled each other. The so-called divinity was the Tao of gods, the righteousness that gods upheld. No matter if it was the righteous path or the evil path, it was still the Tao. So the reason Boss locked up the Dragon Sword Island's long family was to extract the divinity in their blood and suppress the wretch god's flesh and blood. If this continues, he will be able to defeat the wretch god's will and melt the flesh and blood. If he succeeds, his cultivation base will probably rise by several realms. Guhongsha observed for a long time and found some clues. Boss has cultivated the glass jade body, but I wonder if he has cultivated the 10th transformation, the 1,000 tasks at one heart. If this transformation makes his mind very strong, I won't be able to hide from him even with the great dragon armor. But I don't believe he won't leave this place and stay here all day. He immediately hid in the sun-moon altar and didn't come out, observing from the outside. Guhongsha circulated his demonic arts, breathing in and out repeatedly. The air around him swirled, and his aura was extremely strong. He trained hard all day without rest. Beside him were a few jars of medicinal pills, and he took one every other day. How hardworking. Guhongsha was also comprehending the sun-moon dragon that he had just obtained in the sun-moon altar. He carefully pondered over the 3 moves: sun-moon refinement, sun-moon transformation, and sun-moon annihilation. He consolidated his foundation before starting to cultivate this move. In order to speed up his cultivation, he used the heavenly dew while dipping his finger in the Dragon Eyes elixir in the Dragon Eyes Pagoda. He drew runes all over his body, treating himself as a magical treasure to cultivate. Actually, this was also a body-tempering art of the sun-moon refinement. A large amount of heavenly dew was consumed. His body was like a bottomless pit that could swallow anything. Energy spread to his limbs and bones, and it was bottomless. The sun-moon dragon was extremely profound, and it required a large amount of spiritual energy. It wasn't something that ordinary Tao realm experts could compare to. For example, ordinary experts would need 3 days to absorb spiritual energy and turn it into a drop of spiritual liquid for their own consumption. But he would need at least 100 drops in 3 days, or even more. As he cultivated, his blood shone with a powerful dragon might and the light of the sun and moon. With the dragon transformation elixir and heavenly dew, cultivating for a few days was equivalent to cultivating for a few years. He cultivated here for a full 5 days and still hadn't found a chance. As for the crown prince, Guhongsha, he was still cultivating and basically didn't step out. He had to respect his boss's diligence. He was just a cultivation maniac. But during these 5 days, Guhongsha had benefited a lot. He had fully consolidated his cultivation and his strength had increased. Sun-moon dragon scales covered his body and they were all hidden under his skin. His comprehension of the sun-moon refinement, sun-moon transformation, sun-moon slaughter, and sun-moon dragon became much deeper. Of course, during this process, he was also refining the great dragon armor and demon descending blade. After learning the sun-moon dragon blood his body had gradually increased in density, and his refining methods had also improved. The great dragon armor began to transform. and the aura of a king was born within it. Soon, it was on the verge of evolving into the king dragon armor. As he refined it, he gradually understood the characteristics of the great dragon armor. Only then did he know why it had the ability to hide. It turned out that this armor had evolved using the Dragon Transformation Elixir. The Dragon Transformation Elixir was made from the bloodline of countless ancient beasts. One of them was called the illusionary snake. This snake was good at blending into the environment, and it was impossible to discover it. It was 100 times better than the chameleon at hiding itself. The illusionary snake king could even blend into the air. No one would be able to discover it. After activating the bloodline of the illusionary snake king, it had the ability to hide. Compared to ordinary hiding talismans, it was much more exquisite. Moreover, under Gu Chinch's refinement, the ability to hide became stronger and stronger. What a pity! If I could learn Father's great god slaughtering art and great god devouring art, I would have a 50% chance of refining this flesh. Another 15 days passed. Gu Hingsha stood up and shook his clothes. He felt that he should go out and make some arrangements. After being suppressed by him for so many days, this lump of flesh seemed to be much more well-behaved. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.